Hey, does your dingus look like Charlie Brown hiding out in the pumpkin patch, just waiting for the great pumpkin to appear? If so, then you need to check out manscaped.com. They have tools and lotions and elixirs and everything you need to take care of your under regions and your undercarriage. You want to definitely invest in a Lawnmower 3.0 razor, which is one of the most advanced scientifical genital razors in existence to this day. Gone are the days where you got to cut yourself up using beard clippers. Just get down with a Lawnmower 3.0. It's got like these fancy research and developed ceramic blades that make everything smooth and easy. So check them out, www.manscaped.com. And if, other things they also got there, they got like creams and, like I said, elixirs and stuff to help out down there, especially in the swampy, heaty, humid, summer months. So check them out. They have ball toner. They got anti-chafing creams and stuff. So, whatever you need, they got you all set. So they got it all locked down and all set, man. So check them out, manscaped.com. Use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, which is just BIGTRUTH, and you will get 20% off your order and free shipping. And right now they already have these discounted packages called like the Total Care packages or whatnot. And which includes a razor and toner and this and that. And those are already marked down. Using my promo code, you still get 20% off the already low sales price. So check it out, manscaped.com. Promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, 20% off your entire order and free shipping. Also, check out chopcult.com. Chopcult is the news source for motorcycle riders, chopper builders, and whatever out there. They are one of the biggest and active online forums. So they got forums for every subject related to motorcycling. They have an online swap meet, like kind of message board, like parts place, where you can buy, sell, and trade and barter for rare parts or whatever you need. They got an events page, and they got all the events listed for motorcycle and chopper events all around the world. Weekly blog dumps, mailing lists, all this stuff. So check them out, www.chopcult.com. Membership is absolutely free, so it costs you the big nut to get on there. And, so the benefits far outweigh the costs. So sign up, get on there, and contribute, and learn a thing or two, or maybe pick up some rare parts or some shit, chopcult.com, and on all the social media, simply at chopcult, which is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Also, Omerta, which is a clothing company and lifestyle brand based out of Los Angeles, run by two of my old and good friends. You can check them out at omertamia.com. And they got whatever you need, man. T-shirts, hoodies, jackets, socks, even like one-off screened prints, pomade if you're still slicking your hair back, whatever. They live by the code of the streets and, follow the don't be a rat, keep your mouth shut rule. So check them out, omertamia.com. Always got new stuff coming and going. A lot of their apparel is on American-made apparel wherever it's possible. So, they stand and deliver. Check them out, omertamia.com, or Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff at Omertamia. Again, use the code BIGTRUTH with them as well. Get 20% off your order. So omertamia.com, promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, 20% off your order. And if you're still in the mood to spend some money, you should go check out Pitchfork. Pitchfork is another clothing company and record label run by a friend of mine. You can check them out at pitchforkny.com. They're a staple in the metal, hardcore, and punk rock community as far as like clothing line and record label. They do. Warren does a whole line of split 7 inches. It's a really cool kind of concept. He'll do an East Coast band on one side and a West Coast band on the other, and they make all kinds of limited edition colored collector vinyls. So check them out at pitchforkny.com. And if you are into motorcycles and you're in New England, come by the shop here at Chopperhead Custom Cycles, which is at 13 County Road in Freetown, Massachusetts. Or if you're not local, check out www.chopperhead.com. Now that's spelled CHOPPAHEAD, the most masshole of ways. We're a full service custom motorcycle shop. Come in, we do anything from an oil change to build you a full custom chopper, anything in between, engine work, fabrication, just you want to do new audio and you got a street glide or some shit like that. We do whatever you need. We also sell parts and accessories, apparel, helmets, anything you need in motorcycling. And if I don't have it on the website, because I'm not a big web store, I'm an actual real brick and mortar shop, you give us a call, 508-995-6764, or shoot us an email, and we can get whatever you need. We're pretty much tied in with anybody who makes parts that you want. And whether, and if not, we probably make it, or if not, we can get it. So www.chopperhead.com, and check out bigtruthpodcast.com, www.bigtruthpodcast.com. Just like it says, we got all the season. Well, there's no seasons. It's just one big fucking ongoing season of foreverness. But you can see, you can go over there, check out all the episodes, check out the news and stuff. I've been really slack about putting up new news and stuff because I'm full bore here at the Chopperhead in my tattoo shop. But check out bigtruthpodcast.com. Drop me a line, give some feedback on the show. Always up to hear what you're thinking, what you want, if you have any guest suggestions, whatever, be as participatory as you want. Please make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave some feedback if you can and spread the word. And now we'll get into today's episode.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yeah, man. Once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Big Truth Podcast. I am stoked to have my boy Mikey Flynn here with me today. We're day drinking. We're talking about his bands, his guitar company, his time on the road with things. You might know him from Black Hole Guitars. You might know him from Out Cold and other Boston area and other New England area hardcore bands, or you might know him from his guitar company called Black Hole Guitars. Let's give a warm welcome to my boy Mikey. What's happening, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh.
And just as an aside, you might hear Joehawk in the background chiming in every now and then. He's sitting in with us today, and he is a kind of a producer of this episode, and he's going to move things along to produce the content that he wants to hear as he's driving around in his truck this week.
Move it along.
Move it along. All right. So what's up, man? How you doing today?
Good, man.
I mean, it's fucking weird because I feel like we've already recorded the podcast because we've been hanging around we're here at Chopperhead on the counter as usual, but we've been drinking here for about a couple hours, or hour and a half at least, probably. And I have nothing in my system except Tito's and fucking alcohol. Well, Tito's is alcohol, right? I have nothing in my system except Tito's and Gatorade and Bang energy drink. And neither of them are a sponsor of the show, but I am welcome to all three hitting me up because I do use all of those products. So, dude, just kind of give us a background, man. I know you've been involved in the punk and hardcore scene here in Massachusetts for a long time, and then also you've kind of been on the road with a bunch of bands as a tech, and you've got your own guitar shop going and stuff. We got a lot to talk about, and a lot of paranormal experiences, which is what seems like people want to hear lately. And we didn't talk too much about psychedelic shit, but you might have some of that shit. Whatever, man. I'm open to it all. Let's get into it, man.
All right, man. Let's boogie.
Yeah, dude. So, I guess a good way to, like an intro to all this is, I don't ever come into this with any questions or anything, but one question I do ask a lot of people, especially people involved in the punk and hardcore scene, like, how did you find your way into this? Like, what was kind of the, how did you get your way into this? And then we'll just start from there. And then not only that, but, you found your way into punk and hardcore, and then you started finding your way into bands, and then you started finding your way into working for other touring bands, and then you started your own guitar company. Let's hear the Mike Flynn origin story.
Oh man, it's like the shitty Avenger. Well, it all starts with BMX, like racing as a kid. Like probably got into that around like 8 years old, 9 years old.
The Eddie Fiola days?
Just past that, they would call it mid-school these days. So
okay, I'm not familiar with the mid-school, yeah.
Like 89, 90, it was after BMX shit the bed. All like the big sponsors and corporate sponsors pulled out of the sport. It was dead. They were having little DIY, almost like punk show type contests around the country. And like the pro riders, the top dudes are getting like $50 and a box of ramen noodles. Like if they win, they're killing themselves on these shitty 50-pound bikes.
Post rad.
Definitely post rad. It was like the lull in the industry. Racing was still kind of like doing all right, but that even was shot. So, just get into the videos, watch the shit out of rad a million times.
Yeah.
And all like the BMX companies started releasing like, these rider owned companies start putting out videos like skateboarding, right?
Yeah.
So S&M,
I was gonna say that's kind of like a lot of the people I've talked to, like and myself included, was skateboarding, and then on the skateboarding videos, there would all be all this punk rock shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was more of a skateboarder than the BMX. I did the BMX stuff, but like, I was I had like shitty like mongoose spikes and stuff back then. I didn't have any of the good shit, but yeah. So you started getting some of the BMX videos and
this in particular, this company S&M Bikes was like, it's kind of funny because throughout my life, like they're like a major influence, like even getting into business and such, right? Because it was like these like weirdo, like total nutters, like punk rock BMX dudes that were always getting thrown out of races and like making their own bikes and all this shit like that. So it was like, as a kid, you're like, wow, these like dudes are only like 10 years older than me and they're making bikes. This is rad, right?
But they were like the punk rock dudes of the industry, like kind of going in and fucking shit up and and just being a menace type of shit. Yeah. Fuck yeah, man.
Like at the time, like there wasn't really freestyle competitions. This is pre-X Games, right?
Yeah.
So like they were all racers. They weren't just freestylers. So they'd be getting thrown out of races for racing dirty, doing crazy shit, right?
Yeah,
pulling pranks on like the promoters, like all this stuff.
Man.
Like
fun shit.
They're rad, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like if you think about it in skateboarding, it was like you had the Bones Brigade, and then you had like the Alva dudes or like the Dogtown dudes, and the like the more gnarly dudes were like just like fuck you. What was it? The daggers and the the daggers of whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. But so like we got this video, S&M Bikes 44 something, right? And I mean, it was like ill repute for the first time. Gorilla Biscuits doing the Coxbar song, like it was just all his punk shit. It's like, wow, what's this, right? So we're getting into BMX, watching more videos, like hearing these bands we can't figure out. Like, there's it was actually this video from Out This Way. These dudes, I can't think of the name of it, but the end of the video was Sheer Terror doing "I Need Lunch" by the Dead Boys.
Yeah,
it's like, whoa, what's that? And that was one of the first things we found on like a Doctor Strange comp or something, right?
Nice.
And it's like, this is like the craziest thing, So kind of through that, it was like, riding with dudes start playing music a little bit later. And my buddy Aaron that we started Last in Line with, like he was like more of a skater dude. And they're like, all right, man, we need a bass player. And I'd played like violin or something when I was a kid. So I was like, yeah, 4 strings, I can figure out bass, Went to Costco, bought a shitty bass, and then I'm jamming with these dudes, and then it's on.
Yeah.
So kind of like, I guess, textbook. Like, I feel like a lot of dudes of my age come from like skateboarding or BMX or something like that.
Yeah, and it's weird because it seems like when I was a kid, there was both, and then like the BMX stuff seemed to die out a little quicker, and the skateboarder stuff had longevity. But then there's like both scenes. Obviously, have had like 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever resurgences. Like they just didn't jive at the same time. Like
right
when I was a kid, I was a BMX dude. Then I got into skateboard, and BMX kind of died. Then skateboard had carried me around, and then by the time BMX came around again, I was already done with that, you know what I mean? So, but it was more skateboarding and punk and hardcore or whatever from there. So it's just kind of interesting that, I'm surprised there's not more people that don't do both,
right.
But it is like a weird thing that both of those seem to, especially from the videos, had seemed to be like how a lot of people found their way into like punk and hardcore and shit like that.
Yeah.
And even in the magazines and stuff like.
Oh yeah, because they'd have record reviews.
Yeah.
Or like write-ups. It's like, oh, these guys are on the soundtrack. We just like saw them at a show after an event. Like check them out. Like found out about Caius through like old like Props video magazine videos.
Yeah.
And even all like, I had a lot of skater friends, and that's where like, you know, the early Wu-Tang records were coming out and like Mobb Deep and all that stuff. So it was like punk rock and hip hop, you know, just after you're like a kid listening to radio music.
Sure. Yeah, man. And that's like when I grew up, like they always kind of went hand in hand. It seemed like, you know, those, not only the extreme, quote unquote, extreme sports, but also like punk and hip hop and hardcore and all that, metal and thrash and everything. So you started getting into the music through BMX videos, and then you had a friend that had a band and they needed a bass player, and you were like, fucking violin to bass, fucking easy jump, let's do that.
Yeah, you know, and it'd been like, that was probably like second, third grade, you know, school band or whatever.
Yeah. Well, how old were you at this time? Like, what's that time frame? Like, how old were you?
I was probably like 13 by the time I picked up a bass, like end of 7th grade or so.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, I'm guessing. And we had this like, you know, crappy punk band in the basement, you know, and the dude that ended up singing for Last Line, DJ, they had like a punk band. They were a bit older. Like one of my friends from elementary school, his younger brother was like the bass player's brother. So we were stealing like Boss Tones records from him and shit like that growing up.
Who was that?
That was Och. That was Alex. Yeah. So like, it was kind of funny. There's older dudes like doing like old like punk, you know, oi type stuff in town, and we were like the little shitty kids. That, you know, DJ's dad owned a bike shop, so we were like little BMX rats hanging out there, and you know, we all kind of got together eventually.
But that either goes one or two ways. The older dudes either like appreciate it and take you under their wings, or they're like, fuck these fucking kids. How'd it go?
Oh no, they were like, oh yeah, like Westfield, you know, we're all fucking idiots, you know?
Yeah,
so it's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, these guys, they get the right idea, you know?
Yeah, no, you get stoked when you see younger kids getting into cool shit and like cool shit the right way. Like,
yeah.
You know, and so fuck yeah, man. So then from there you started playing in bands. When did you start taking music more seriously? Because obviously you've made a career out of it in one way or the other. Like when did you start taking music? When did when did that become more of like the focus of your, you know, what you're going to do? Right.
So like, you know, I joined this band and my folks were like, well, you don't do sports anymore. At that point I wasn't racing BMX. I was just like freestyling. And they're like, well, you got to do something after school. So I did bass lessons. So I started taking the bass very seriously. Like early on, my bass teacher was cool. He turned me on to like the jam and stuff like that. Like I was probably like 14, right? And like early like Trojan reggae stuff and all that kind of thing. So I was like serious about the music. Like that's all I did was sit in my room. Okay, like we learned how to play Sick of It All Step Down last week. And I'm just hammering away in my room for hours every night, driving my folks nuts, playing the same song over and over. Playing like fucking Sam Black Church Disco Inferno like a billion times. Like what the hell is going on here? You know? So like we did this first crappy band, and then shortly after that, the older dudes band broke up and our band kind of broke up and we all started playing together. Like it formed Last in Line and the Strikers out of that.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Strikers.
Yeah. Yeah. And they, and then that's all we did. It was like, you know, DJing those dudes, I think we're probably like 22, 23. By that point, I was like 15. I didn't have a license when I got going. And it was like twice a week. We jammed for like 4 hours. And then it was like, there we go. Like in Springfield, this venue Daddy-O's opened up, and it was like this sketchy, like coffee house. We're like 14, 15-year-old kids. And the dude's like, yeah, book shows, you know? And that place was, you know, I don't know if you know much about Springfield, but Worthington Street's kind of it's an area.
I know, you know, and for those that don't know, just for a little background in Massachusetts history, like, there's all these towns and cities in Massachusetts that used to be very prosperous because they were like titans of industry, like, you know, like whether it was textiles or fishing or whaling or whatever, and then they all just went to shit.
Yeah.
And Springfield, Brockton, you know, New Bedford, fucking Lowell, it's all the same story. They were these mill towns or like these like fishing towns or whatever, and then when the industry died there, they all just kind of got crazy and got kind of crappy. But I bought a van from Springfield once, like a shop van, and that I remember it being pretty nice. And it's weird because you don't think, because you're like Western Mass, like we think Western Mass all nice and trees and hippies at fucking UMass Amherst or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you go to Springfield and you're like, no, it's fucking gnarly as fuck. Just like every other, like whether it's Lowell or fucking whatever, they're all the same, you know?
Oh yeah, Springfield, Holyoke. It's like, you know, there's you know, but then at the same time, it's like 10-minute drive and there's like nobody around and you're up on a mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's cool. You know, after all the touring and stuff, you know, I've lived in California at a point. I went to Luthier school down in Atlanta. I got done touring and I was like, Western Mass it is, fuck it. Like I'm a lifer. Like if I'm going to open a business, I'm going to do it in the town I grew up in. Like, let's go.
Yeah. And that's kind of the same here, man. Like it would be way smarter for me to go to Arizona or California or something to open a motorcycle shop. But it's like I'm so rooted here and with like family or friends and, you know, business and you just, you know, you just come back whether you want to or not. Like I did the same thing. I lived in Arizona. I lived in Atlanta. I lived in, you know, I lived in Switzerland. I lived in Mexico, fucking whatever. I always end up coming back, man.
Right. There's something about New England. It draws you in.
Yeah. You hate it and you love it and you complain about it, but you always just fucking stay because you're like, all right, fuck it. I'm a asshole or whatever. What's that?
It's a trap state. Once you're in, you're
it's a trap state. Yeah. So yeah, man, fucking, where'd you live in Atlanta?
I was like just north of the city. I think the town was called Lilburn.
I don't remember.
Little, you know, just little town. It had little guitar, very like little guitar school there. I think there was like 5 guys in my class.
So what was? I'm not familiar with that. What was the school like for? Like for like building guitars? Or,
Yeah. So it was a luthier, somebody that builds and repairs stringed instruments. So like I went to trade school. I wanted to be a machinist because I was like, I want to make like seat posts for my bike and shit.
Yeah.
But the math, I was like, man, it just didn't fucking work.
Sure.
So I got into graphic arts, and when I got into that school, it was like pre-Photoshop. Like we were learning on light tables, cut and paste, you know, Rubylith. We had a darkroom for enlargements, running the offset press. So I did that forever.
100% I understand because I went to Greater New Bedford Regional Vocational Technical High School for graphic arts.
Yeah.
And it was before like when copy machines came out, like, but we were still running printing presses.
Yeah.
I used to run the darkroom so we could make the film for the plates.
Yeah.
For the offset printers. But I always did the darkroom because no one could come in when the darkroom light was on. So I would put that shit on.
Yes.
And then I would escape through the ceiling and go to the school and go all over the place and do fucked up shit. Me and like Ryan or like, you know, and whatever. And we would and Kevin DuPont and shit, we would do all this fucked up shit like through the school. We'd fuck with people like wicked hard. Like we'd go to other shops and lift the ceiling tiling up, and we had wrist rockets and shit. We'd smash people with wrist rockets and they wouldn't know where shit was coming from. And then they would have like these like exchange students, like the Portuguese exchange students that didn't know English or anything. And we'd fuck with them and you'd know they thought it was like spirits and shit. They'd be like wicked fucking scared and shit because they'd be getting nailed with like fucking BBs and shit in the fucking face with like from a wrist rocket from the ceiling. They couldn't tell where it was coming from. But that's a whole different story, man. But so we have a shared graphic arts background. But when I was in that shop, we were running like printing presses, like that were like from like the 1800s, still like the imprint ones. I was like still cast typing, dude, like making like type out of lead and like and using those machines. And it's like it was like so outdated. Even when we were in school, it was like none of this technology, no shit, you know. Fucking Xerox is gonna fucking clean it up after all this, but yeah. Anyway, so you went to the school for you wanted to be a machinist, and then you went to school for guitar. Is it like totally making guitars, like from scratch? Yeah.
So I worked in that industry, like doing design, print, like whatever, running binderies, running presses, all that shit. And it was like 2008 when like the economy crashed, and you know, it was a great, like, locally owned shop, but the dude starts walking around laying people off, cutting an hour from this guy's weight, and you're cutting, like, you know, $1 an hour, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got to get out of here. I got to figure out something new to do.
Yeah.
So I was probably, like, 27 at the time, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, I'm like, I'm at work, supposed to be like running the shop, and I'm just on the computer. Like maybe I go to school for AutoCAD. Maybe I go back, try out machining or like electrician or something. I'm looking for another trade.
Well, the machine industry changed so much from like, you see back there, we got fucking old lathes and old Bridgeports, and it turned from that to everything CNC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So all you got to do is like, you're more of a computer programmer, and then you press start on the fucking machine at these days,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was looking, I'd always been interested. So my grandfather had like a wood shop in the basement. So I was like a little kid ripping boards on like a big radial arm saw, and my mom's freaking out and all that, you know?
Yeah.
So I had that like tinkering kind of knack.
Yeah, working with your hands.
Yeah, making birdhouses and all that kind of shit you do when you're a kid. So I looked at Luthier school before, but the big one, it's out in Arizona. It's called Roberto Venn. Super expensive. It's like going to college pretty much. Like just like the toolkit you got to bring with you is like astronomical. Like it looked very much like when one of my buddies went to Harley school or like tech school,
MMI or whatever.
Yeah, like the stuff he had to like get. It was like, man, that's like out of my budget, dude. I'm a working guy. I got nothing, you know? Yeah. So I found this school that I could afford, and it was like it was only like a 2.5 month course, but it was like an intensive one. And I was like, fuck it. I'm out
and then
here.
with only like 4 or 5 people, like there's a lot of individual attention, and there's probably a lot of camaraderie around amongst the 4 or 5 of you, right? Like,
yeah, because we're all in it, and it was weird. It was like I had this vision, like I was like, yeah, I want to design, because I was like a guitar nerd, like to begin with. I was like, yeah, I want to like make guitars. I want like Mosrite guitars, which is like the Johnny Ramone guitar, right? Like that dude was like the most punk rock guy. Like he was just like building guitars, like with the shittiest hand tools, like in a shed behind a church, and like churning out this rad stuff. And his story's pretty crazy, but it was like really like that DIY thing. Another from the BMX to the music, and then the guitars. It's like, oh yeah, you can do anything you want if you just like get to it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I go to the school, and a lot of what I found out at the school was I kind of knew what I was doing, because I never had money to bring my guitar in. So I figured a lot of shit out on my own. And it was like, okay, you're doing this right to begin with. Cool. And I already knew how to run like saws and all that. So I built 2 guitars there. That was part of the course. Like you learn how to repair them, and then you build 2. And most guys did an acoustic and electric. And the acoustic guitar world is like crazy. Like these guys are like tuning the wood and stuff. And it's like it's black magic, man. It's,
and that's like any kind of handcrafted industry. There's like different levels of it. And at some level, it's almost like akin to fucking sorcery. Like
it is.
Like this shit that how deep people get involved in shit, and you don't think it makes a difference, or to an untrained ear, it might not even make a difference, but to someone that knows what's up,
oh yeah,
like, it makes a fucking difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like so I had this like, I'm not going to fuck with acoustics. Like I'll work on them for sure, you know? And there's even some acoustic work I won't do, like major structural stuff. It's like, there's guys that are killer in my area, bring it to them. Like they're going to do it quicker and cheaper. Probably this, those guys are going to nail this, 'cause that's their specialty.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's, to me, like and anybody that's listening, like that is like the sign of like a fucking solid dude. I'm not like blowing smoke up your ass, but like for you to, because you could easily take in that work and probably do it. But if you're like, nah, there's a dude that specializes in this, like focus, like send it over there.
And that's the thing. Like my experience with like being we were touring, like Last in Line would tour and stuff a little bit, like nothing heavy, but enough that we were playing enough shows. My shit I'd beat the hell out of it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, how do I fix that? Well, all right, some glue here. I don't know.
Yeah.
And,
you were kind of forced into it to learn some shit on the road. Yeah.
And I'd go into shops, and like, you're a kid and you're playing this weird music, and they're not getting you set up right with the right strings, or they're like talking to you like you're an idiot. And it's just kind of like, okay, I'll figure it out. I'll buy some books, whatever.
Yeah. Because kind of internet might have been around, but not to the extent that it is now. Like you couldn't just go into Google and be like, what's the best strings for punk rock? And there'd be like 400
like
whatever message board fucking things about it.
Yeah, you can get lost for a day looking at that shit now. But it was just these like old books, you know, that like, okay, cool. Where was I going with that? Sorry.
You were talking about like when you were first being on tour and trying to figure out if you needed to fix your guitar or get shit, you know what I mean? Like, knowing what to do. So
I just like through doing all that, I just had this idea of what I wanted to do with it. Right. And like, so I try to, we do what we can. you know. So when it's a case like that, a very extreme, like acoustic repair, like all this like body, like bracing work and stuff, there's a place, Luthier's Co-op just north of me, it plays Healy guitars. Those guys are killer. Those guys bang that stuff out all day. I'm coming from more of like specialized in electric guitar end of things.
Sure.
So that kind of like, you know, now and again, a guy with like a crazy metal guitar with like a tremolo and all that is like, oh, these dudes sent me over your way. So it's like,
yeah, it works both ways.
you know, you know how it is. Some shops, like guys come in, they're like, oh man, these guys are saying all this stuff about you. And it's like, I never want to be that guy. It's like anybody, I'm like, cool. No, go check these guys out. They probably have what you're looking for, or these guys specialize in that. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's more, you know, if you're craftspeople, it's all like-minded.
Yeah.
Like, let's help, you know, we might not hang out, but yeah, dude, make some money.
It's all for the benefit of the craft, though, in its general, and the general happiness of the end consumer of it. Like, if they're going to be happier with the end result of what they get from that other place, send them to that other place, and then that other place doesn't do as much electric as you, so they're going to send you their electric shit, and then it works out and it washes out.
Yeah, exactly. So I had no interest in building an acoustic guitar. So I made a guitar and a bass. So I played bass for years before I even picked up a guitar. So that's like really where I'm at with it, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to take the bits of all the stuff I dig and make them. And like we ripped them from, you know, we went to the wood shop and, you know, selected wood at the lumber yard, like tone wood, you know, we're little like hammers and like little things banging on them, hearing like the right ping and all that. They taught us how to find the right wood, make sure it was like cured the proper way. And, so over the course of that 2.5 month Luthier school, it was basically...
They taught you how to ping wood?
They taught us how to ping wood. They taught us how to do everything from... The train's going off the rails already. What I'm getting at is it was like 2.5 months where we were there like 18 to 19 hours a day.
Yeah, no.
They gave us, like we had one day off like the first weekend, and then it's like, you can be here. So I was just rocking and rolling.
And at that point, it's dumb not to be there. Like, why would you, if that's what you're looking to get into and you got the opportunity to be there, like, and you only got like 2.5, 3 months to do it, fucking be there every fucking second that you can. And a lot of people aren't ready to fucking make sacrifices like that to do the shit they want to do. And that's why they stay in 9 to 5 fucking whatever jobs and whatever. But, so you graduate from Luthier
school.
Luthier
make it a
school.
little easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like this hoity-toity sounding like thing. And I'm like, dude, I'm basically a mechanic. You know what I mean?
Guitar mechanic.
It's, you know, it's like, you know, it's like anything.
No, you're a lot more than a mechanic, though, because if you can build a whole guitar from scratch,
right,
you're a guitar craftsman.
Yeah, same as building a bike. Any type of fabrication or design. Like, you have that, like, it's so much craft and art that it really, you know, whether, even if you're just doing, like, you know, high-end like performance thing on a bike, right? You're doing like whatever, working on the cylinders, right? Trying to get more power. Similar with the guitars, it's like, okay, this is how this dude plays. Like, let's get this really dialed in for him. And it's like a very like, it's a setup, right? A setup would be like a tune-up for a bike, right? Yeah. So it's the most simple thing you can do, most common maintenance. But what you can do with that to really tailor it to the style he's playing, the tuning he's using, you know, all that, that's like the detail that it's like, you get down to that and you lose yourself in it.
Yeah, sure. Even just like, I can see like, you know, what pickups you're going to use or how you're going to set the string height, like the action of the guitar or whatever. Like, there's probably a million fucking little things that will make it better or worse for that person, you know?
Right. And that was like, so when I started like guitar teching for bands, the first thing I had to learn was how to play like somebody else. Because I could like play a Rolling Stones riff with the amp setup, but when dude comes on stage and starts chugging, it's not going to sound the same way.
Yeah.
And even if I play the same riff as that guy, it's not going to sound the same way because it's different hands, right? So it's just learning how to play all this different stuff, working for metal bands or like indie bands or whatever it may be. And then that just made me better at the craft in the shop, right? Or it's like, oh, you got to swap a pickup out in between songs because you burned out the guitar. Cool. Now when I do that at the shop, it's a quicker job and it's cleaner, you know?
Yeah. So was guitar teching just kind of like more of a means for you to get to kind of where you are now? Or was it like, you know, like what got you on the road with like teching for different bands?
So I got back from...
Was that after school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got back from school and just started plugging away, just working at guitars, you know, just doing what I could do. Like I wasn't going to shops. I took my parents' basement, built a workbench down there, and started messing with my friends' guitars, my own guitars, and you know, you know how it is. Oh yeah, can my buddy bring you something? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I was just doing that, and I was broke. You know,
Sure,
there's no money. Nobody knows who I am other than like band guys I know, right? So I got this gig at a health insurance company running their print shop. So I was doing that like 40 hours a week, fixing guitars like 30, 40 hours a week, or studying or practicing. And then it just kind of grew. Like then I moved, you know, eventually moved the shop into like my house, like where I was living at the time. And it just kept picking up. And the job was killing me. Like the office life was not for me.
Yeah.
At all.
And just before we get too far from it, like, lest anyone know, like, when you go to a school for whatever, they can show you the fundamentals and the basics. So your real education begins when that school ends and you start really getting into it and then really fucking around and like,
Right.
you know,
And
that's the same thing with like dudes come out of MMI, which is the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. They think they're ready to roll. Like, no, you're ready to step your foot in the door and kind of get your feet wet. And now your real education begins. You just learned some fundamentals.
Like, I mean, I'm 10 years into the craft now, and there's still stuff like I'll do it if it's a homie.
Yeah.
You know, if one of my boys needs something, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, but I'm not like selling that yet.
Yeah.
You know,
you're
'cause
still fine tuning it.
I want it to be like up to my standard. Like I know,
Sure.
like I see stuff that comes in and it's like, okay, that's good. That works. I would have done it this way. Right. And you figure that end of it out. So it's kind of like when I get done doing like a practice something, you know, whatever the procedure is, get done doing a practice one, I'm like, if this was for a customer, would I want to charge him for it? Like, I know it works. I know it's good, but does it look good? Does it feel good? Is it like right on point? And, you know, there's points where like I'll show stuff to buddies that are real serious about guitar and they're like, dude, that's perfect. Like you're out of your mind, you know, but I just like, I want, you know, the thing it was with my shop, if you're like some dude just learning or you're like, you know, a touring like pro, you're getting the same service. Like I'm giving the same attention to detail. Like, because if you're learning, you might be up there someday, but if you don't have the right stuff working for you, that's one more thing to fight while you learn.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. So fucking, so what, you know, so you got out of guitar school, you're fucking around in your basement and then built your own setup up and then you start teching for bands. And I know you've teched for like some pretty serious bands. Like what are some of the bands that you've worked with as far as guitar teching for?
So when I got on the road, really my main gig was working for Killswitch and Gage. And I did that for probably like 6 or 7 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
When Jesse came back is when I got on with them. So
okay, yeah. Jesse's an old friend and I've known him since we were kids, yeah. And he was on a few episodes ago.
Oh yeah, he had some good Bigfoot stuff on there.
Yeah. He lives in an area where you know, you should be seeing that shit, I guess, you know?
Yeah,
we'll talk about we'll get into
get there.
Let's get all your serious shit out and then we'll get over to the fucking weirdness. Because I know you got
your guitar work credibility and then just fucking nosedive it.
Yeah, okay. I was just saying, let's build up your credibility and then fucking kamikaze it right down the fucking shit.
Dig it. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. And keep me moving. I can ramble about especially the guitar shit. Once I get going on it, please feel free to like point me in a direction.
There's no, like, this is a weird show. Like, we got a lot of fucking people that are musicians or into music that listen to this. I got a lot of people that are, you know, into motorcycles. But craftsmanship is craftsmanship. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, I'm as interested in it as, you know, as you know, I'm sure if we sat down and I started talking to you about bike shit, you'd be interested from the process point of view, as you know what I mean? And I'm very interested in that. So this isn't boring. And if it's boring for someone, fucking shut it off or hit fast forward a little bit because we're gonna get into weird shit in a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We're going down a hole.
When I let the guest producer Joehawk start fucking chiming in and directing the content to his sensibilities, we'll do that. But let's talk.
Lack of sensibility.
Yeah. But you know, a lack of sensibility is still its own sensibility, right?
Yeah. Sure. Whatever gets me through the day.
Yeah. Whatever we can tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better. But yeah, man. So you get out of school, and then you start going on tour. Like, how did you get kind of connected with the folks at Killswitch and get on that? Because I'm sure that's kind of a coveted gig in the in the tech world. Like, there's a few of them that are, I have I happen to have a lot of friends that work in that industry, like the teching, or like my boy Warren was stage manager for Slayer for a lot of years.
Warren has saved my ass so many times on the fucking road, man.
Best dude. And for less than anyone know, Warren is also the guy that runs Pitchfork, which is a sponsor. So whatever. And I'm just giving a shout out because he's a homeboy and a fucking good dude and
Indeed.
is involved in a lot of shit. But
much respect to Warren, man. Yeah. Like that dude has got us out of some pickles on the road. Dude. I'm the respect.
I would love to do a whole podcast on just get a couple of you guys in that have been like on tour as like, techs or stage managers or tour managers or whatever, because that is a whole fucking interesting world. Like the shit behind
Pirates, man.
The pirate life of craziness that goes on behind the scenes of like touring bands is fucking cool, dude. Like it's never ceases to be entertaining. Or like I always get jealous. I always feel like I missed, like I'm like really good on the road. And I fucking wish that I just had fucking committed to that at an earlier age and said fuck it, because like everyone I know is very. Do you happen to know my boy Darian from upstate New York? He's doing a lot with Blink, whatever the fuck they are, 152, 182, whatever.
No, we didn't really do too many, like through my career at least. Yeah. Like we didn't really cross paths with them, or if it was like a mega like Euro festival, and they were on the other end of a.
82, right? I'm just sorry. I'm super hyper. Yeah. I can't figure. I want to get it right so I don't sound like a total dick. And I should, because that dude, the singer of that band, is like one of the biggest UFO fucking.
Yeah.
He left that band so that he could just fucking pursue UFO fucking.
It's kind of crazy that like you hear like interviews with that dude when he's talking about like his like UFO school or whatever.
I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Like you're like. I don't know how credible this guy is. He's in a pop punk band, and it's like everything that he's talking about like turns out to kind of be true, and you're like, fuck, man, maybe. What
I can say though is my boy Darian works for them, and he says they're like all really good dudes. Like, so that's what's important to me. Like the weirdest shit is like, you see these bands like Behemoth or something that are like these like fucking satanic black metal bands, and everyone's like, no, those are the best dudes to work for. They're like the nicest, coolest dudes. Like it's like fucking crazy, right? Like that whole world is fucking bananas. Like
it is.
So I don't even know where we just got off on a little tangent here. But so you started working. You got a gig with Killswitch, going on tour, guitar tech. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I know a lot of people that work as guitar techs or like bass techs or whatever. I don't know anyone that's actually gone to like that whole Luthier school.
Guitar tech school. We'll just
let's just say guitar tech school.
No, but it's beyond guitar tech, because
I'm not snobby.
No. But the thing is, you can be a tech, but to build a whole guitar from scratch is a whole different fucking game.
It is.
Like, to be able to put strings on a guitar and get it tuned and get it set up for a guy so he can play like how he plays is a lot different than fucking knocking on wood to make sure it has the right ping so that this is the fucking. I'm going to hop on that a little bit.
No, that's good. You get it though.
No, but that's a lot different than doing that and being like, all right, this is the piece of wood we're going to make this neck out of or body or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I'm actually like, I'm paying respect by like going back to it, even though I can't say the word and I keep fucking it up.
I get it.
I'm trying to give respect. So I don't think most of the guitar techs I know haven't gone to Luthier school.
You're in there.
And I keep wanting to say Lutheran, like, you know what I mean?
Dude, that's what everybody thinks. Yeah. They're like, are you like a minister or something?
Yeah.
No, dude, I fuck with guitars all day.
Minister of guitars, motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
what type of wood ping is the best?
It depends on the ping you're looking for, man.
Yeah. In all your history of pinging wood, which wood pinged to the most fulfillment?
Depends. Are we talking top, body, neck?
Yeah.
Fretboard, you know?
No, I know.
But no, that's how much of a whole. It's like, okay, is it like a metal shredder guitar? Is it like a rock and roll guitar?
Yeah.
You know, there's so much shit that goes into it.
But so that just made the point. Like a lot of the techs I know haven't gone to school to get that level of knowledge. So is that how you ended up getting on with them, or just they're local dudes too? Like you just know them from around.
Yeah, they're dudes. I mean, growing up in Western Mass, like, we were going and
Yeah, a lot of them are from out there, right?
Yeah, we'd go see their early bands. We'd go see Aftershock. We'd go see Overcast. You know, it was like every weekend. So it's kind of funny. Like at one point when we were touring, I said,
and it's funny too, because like Overcast, like my old band Overcast used to play with us all the time, and who knew Brian would like that whole Shadows Fall thing fucking took off and fucking.
Well, Jay Fitz was our drum tech on the Killswitch crew, so it was like that was my homie. That's who we chilled with. That was my roomie for days off. That was my dude, you know. So it was good. So I got the gig because dudes are from Westfield, some of them.
Yeah.
And my buddy Josh, who was in Last in Line originally, he had been working with them from the get-go. Yeah. So, and I mean, Josh is like, dude, he's a legend. You know, he's like production manager. That dude does 15 jobs at once every day.
Oh, yeah.
So I got out of school and he's like, I'm like hitting him up. I'm like, dude, I got to get out on a tour, like whatever. You know, this job's killing me. You know, one day I walked out of the job. I was just like over it. See ya. Bounced, you know, sent a shitty email out of there. And just hit him up. I was like, quit my job. I need to go on the road, you know, keep your ears open for me. And things were coming back and he's like, hey, come out. I'd worked on some guitars for the dudes. So they must've dug what I did. And I was out on the road. I'd never teched before. I'd set my own shit up at gigs and worked on my shit, but it was punk rock shows. It wasn't like, you're not dealing with like current in like a professional stage and like, why is the amp buzzing? Why is this fucked up? Why am I getting shocked? Like, oh, we're on 240 instead of like 120. Like, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. There was some disasters, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That was a level, you know, I started at a level that I shouldn't have started at.
Yeah, like a lot of guys work their way up. Like, but the thing is, like, you had an alternative path. Like, you went to the school, like, and you learned all that serious stuff. But like, a lot of guys stop. You know, they go on tour with their punk bands or whatever, or like the metal band's small, and then it grows and grows and grows, and then they get the big gigs with like big bands and stuff. But you just jumped right the fuck in.
Well, and the thing is, it's family. Like, dude, the Killswitch crew, like that whole thing is like it's family. So me and Josh were in Last in Line, right? Yeah. Jay and Mike D were in Overcast. Yeah. You know, the whole thing is like family, you know, and everybody helps each other. Everybody is, I'm the guitar tech, but okay, you got to go help with the backdrop. You got to go help with this, whatever. And it was like that.
The show's, you got to put the show on. Yeah. And whatever it takes to get the fucking show going.
And it's like, we always prided ourselves on like doing more with less and just like that punk rock mentality, you know? Yeah.
And that's just an important aside because, you know, even though Killswitch is like one of the major metal bands out there, like they all come from a different background. Yeah. And they didn't seek that. It just fucking happened. Yeah. And I know like anything Jesse's going to be involved with is like how it's going to be kind of set up. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's so true to that shit, like punk rock roots and stuff. Sir. Like, and you know, no one's going to be mistreated on those type of, tours or whatever, like, you know, all the support people that they consider that. I know he considers all you guys like family, you know what I mean?
And that's what it was. You know, you're spending holidays with guys. You're on the road 6 to 9 months out of the year. Yeah. Like, you're in it, you know, you're living 12 dudes in a full bus in a shitty bunch of bunks, farting and burping, falling out of the bunks into other bunks and all the bullshit that goes along with it. And it is family, like at the end of the day, but you're also, you know, putting in a 20-hour day, 18-hour day, just boogieing.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and that's a funny thing, you know, coming from punk rock, then doing the big level stuff. Like when I got going, people are like, oh, you're doing all this like fucking rock star shit now. And it's like, dude, I'm like, I push road cases and try and sleep 15 minutes on a floor here and there. I don't shower for 3 days. Like, it's not Motley Crue. Like, nobody's like fucking groupies and like going bananas. Dude, I just want to go to bed or drink with the homies on the bus. That's it.
No one's snorting lines of Gold Bond.
No.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And that's the thing is that people have a very, like when you see like a band like Killswitch, for example, and you see the videos and you see like the show go on in front of fucking how many thousands of people, everyone thinks it's all glory. And it's like, there's a lot of shit. Wow. There's a lot of work into that. Even for the band members, it's not cakewalks. Like it's a fucking job. And you're putting your time and you're putting your time in no matter what. Like, and to sustain that, it doesn't just keep itself going, especially in this day and age where there's no like rock stars like it's not like the 70s or 80s anymore. Like you got to keep fucking working.
Yeah. And that's why the successful bands are generally cool people.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an asshole, who's going to work with you like in that capacity? You know what I mean? Like you generally find like bigger bands are all sweethearts. Yeah. You know, whether you like the music or not or whatever, like they're, you know, it's rare that you're treated totally like shit. Yeah. In that world. Like, yeah, you might get a prima donna that goes bananas. Like I've never had to deal with that. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, you know, and I'll say like, I'm not like the biggest Killswitch Engage fan of the music because it's not my lane, but of the dudes, like the dudes that I know, all solid dudes. And like I said, you know, and you know, the organization of it, I'm, you know, like, fuck yeah, man, and I wish everyone the fucking best with that shit, you know?
Yeah.
But so you go on tour and you because of the benefit of knocking wood and fucking being a Lutheran, you get to skip all the low grade and middle grade tours. You get to go right to the top and metal tours. And then how long were you doing that for? Well, I'm just fucking with you. I know you toured with your own bands and you paid all the dues. You know what I mean? And
well, the funny thing is, so like, you know, Joshy had been at it forever, just grinding, touring for everybody, you know. So I got off the first Killswitch thing, and it was a Euro tour right when Jesse came back, and they had a tech, and I was filling in for him basically. So it was like, okay, cool, like you did good, you know, whatever. And I was like, what do I do now? So Josh had worked for the Hold Steady, and an old tour mate, Craig, was like tour managing them, and they needed help for a month. And he's like, threw my name in the hat, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
And just the fact that you've already just got off a tour with Killswitch, it's like probably an instant credibility in that world. Like, I
guess.
Well, you know, like they know they're not going to set some fucking hacker up to go fucking go on tech for him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I had probably the best guy in the game I could vouching for me, so that always helps.
Too. Yeah.
You know, but I was green. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I went from like a bus tour in Europe with Killswitch, which was like, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah.
To a month in a 15-passenger van with the Hold Steady, and I never heard the Hold Steady. One of our my buddy Josh, who was like merch for Killswitch crew, and he had worked for the Hold Steady for a long time, so he would also like help me out getting that gig, right?
Yeah.
But I had never heard them. I knew they were a rock band, so like a week before the tour started, I threw on a record. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I can get down with this.
Yeah.
You know, get in there, get in the van, and we spent like 2 days driving down south to get to the first gig, and it was like, okay, let's go, and it was awesome. It was, you know, by the second show, I was like, this is like the best band in America for rock and roll music. These guys fucking rule. So I did that, then went back to Killswitch. They took me on.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I did. Like, I did a Behemoth tour, and that was a blast. It was
you did a Behemoth tour?
Yeah, I did.
So I was right, because other people have said they're nice guys, right? Like, they're good dudes?
Dude, Nurgle is, yeah, man. I mean, he comes from, like, a punk rock thing. He was doing black metal in basements when he was a teenager, and then made this, like, massive band out of it, right?
I was going to say, I didn't listen to them much, and then I went to see them because I went to see them more because At the Gates was opening, and I really like At the Gates.
Right.
And then I saw Behemoth, and I was like, all right, now I kind of get it. Because like I've heard Behemoth, and I was like, whatever. And then seeing their show, and you know what they put into that, that's a fucking production, dude. You leave and you're like, all right, whatever. I paid $20 to get into this. I just got $20 worth of fucking visual and fucking auditory entertainment or whatever.
You're getting your money's worth with those guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. They put a lot into that shit. And it's like, I can imagine what a nightmare that is from a production standpoint. You know what I mean? All the shit they had going on. And then, you know, I had a different appreciation for the music after I saw them live, you know, and there's a lot of bands that are like that. Like, I don't get it. And then I see them live and then I'm like, all right, no. And then you go back and listen and you're like, all right, I get it a little bit more, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, once punk rock hit for me, like I wasn't listening to much like metal anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
So kind of like the Hold Steady, I'd never heard them. You know, a guy I worked with was like, yeah, come on this gig. Yeah, why not? You know, his co-headliner were Cannibal Corpse. And they were like a gateway drug when I was a little like BMX rat.
Sure,
it's like death metal was like just before punk rock. It was like Slayer, then like, you know, Obituary and Cannibal and all that shit.
Yeah.
So it was like, cool, we're on tour with Cannibal Corpse, bitching. All right, you know. And Adam from Killswitch had done a band with George from, Corpse Grinders. So there was also like that fam kind of thing going on. So, you know, worked.
And I hear nothing but good good things about him too. Like, you know what I mean?
Rad.
Like,
he has some sheer terror stories, like seeing him way back that are fucking awesome.
Oh, really?
Like me and him would listen to like sheer terror and fucking like Hank Williams on the bus.
Yeah.
And it was like, So it's just that, you know, you're cool, you meet cool people and you just work your ass off and you end up in weird places. And the Behemoth Tour was like a long winter tour. It was crazy. End of that tour, Cannibal's like, hey, come to Israel and South Africa and India with us. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go.
No, I don't want to go see all those weird places. Like, yeah, no, of course. Yeah,
it was,
absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, let's get in there. And so it's kind of, it got to that point. It's like, I'll do Killswitch, I'll do Cannibal, and I'll do the Hold Steady. And, you know, I would help out here and there for other stuff. But that's really all I did, you know.
And it's crazy. That whole world, like, that's the other thing. Like, the culture of it is such a, like, a network. Like, if you go in and you work and you do your shit and you're cool, like, there's going to be a whole world open to you for, like, all right, this band's going to be, then all of a sudden you got to start making decisions. All right, which band am I going out with now? Because now everyone's starting to tour at the same time, or you got to make decisions and shit. Like, that's going to be the hard thing, you know?
Well, the thing with our crew was, the Killswitch crew is like, we had the same crew for like years pretty much. We'd have a light guy come in and out or like stuff, but like me, Josh, Fitzy, our tour manager, Alan, Luke, our sound guy, we're kind of like the core dudes. And my buddy Josh for American like merch stuff was always in. So it was just super tight. So in between tours, I was like, I'll just work on guitars at home. I didn't take many side gigs. I turned a lot of shit down.
Yeah, because you don't want it to interfere with, like, you're out.
I was committed. The way I looked at it was, these guys believed in me. I believe in them. So whatever the fuck they need from here on out, I got the back.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd done some like other touring and stuff. And the goal was always to open a shop and really use the shop as a vehicle to just, eventually I want to be at a point where we're just making our own guitars, our own cabinets, pedals, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like an American brand that like a working guy can afford like some good shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, and especially an American brand, like, making American-made shit is so fucking important. Like, I can't even, whatever. Go on my Instagram and you'll see how I stress the importance of that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. We're on the same page.
Yeah. It's just crazy, you know?
Well, I don't mind spending an extra $1 per part if I'm making cables. If I can get cables, all the parts is American made. Like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's what I want to do.
Sure.
So, and that's the thing. Some, like, building pedals, you're getting all your resistors and transistors from China. There's no way around that, right?
There's some things you cannot get around because it's just not made. There's no American companies making that stuff. So you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
But as long as you're using the best shit that you can do, you know what I mean?
And like putting it together right.
Yeah,
all that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like it got to the end of like a long tour cycle. I'd been with Killswitch for a long time. We ended the tour in Holyoke. And like went home and it's like, all right, they're writing a new album. We got 6 months off. So the whole time my touring career, my accountant's kind of like a mentor. Like, I worked on a tobacco farm that he ran for like years after high school it was like the dumbest job somebody could do. Like, they sew tobacco onto these lats to hang it and dry. At the end of the season, we pulled the strings off the lats and bundled them.
Yeah.
It was like some bonehead work.
Yeah,
it was like, how does this job exist? You know?
Yeah.
He's been like a good mentor. And since I got out of school, it's like, oh, should I like start really doing this? No. Keep doing other jobs and like practicing, you know. Got to the end of this and I had some things kind of worked out and lined up. And he's like, all right, here's your budget. Here's, you know, what you want to look for a building. Like, this is what you're going to have to do for your paperwork with the state and the feds and all that. If you can't get anything going in the next 3 months, go back on tour in 3 months, you know? So I went for it. Like, by the end of like August, I had signed a lease on the place. And I was like ready to go. And we opened Halloween that year.
Nice.
So it just kind of, it was a slow build and it was a slow burn. And it's always like looking that far ahead. It's like, I can eat shit for a couple more years and then it's going to get us here. So whatever, we can do it. I don't mind ramen noodles. Yeah, it's fine.
It's all about, if you truly believe you're going to be more willing to make the sacrifices that you need to make to get you where you need to be.
Exactly. So after that, like, I was off the road. I had to make the decision. Like, it was a tough call to make when I had to leave. Killswitch crew was like, you know, I called everybody and was like, dude, I got to go. I got to open this shop. And, you know, I mean, they're so supportive. Like, you know, like Joel's always in, like, hanging out and bringing me guitars and whole nerd shit. You know what I mean? You spend that much time with people, you know, it's great.
Yeah.
So they really helped at the beginning, giving me some props and some ups and like sharing stuff. And then it just snowballed. You know, you do the right thing. You get everything as perfect as you can. And if somebody brings something back, you take care of it the best you can. And you know, and it's just kind of grown from there, from that end.
So what are you doing at your shop? You building? Yeah, obviously you're servicing and repairing and setting guitars up, but are you building like your own line of guitars as well?
Not yet. So there's so much repair work.
Yeah.
Like, so right now we're still closed from COVID.
Sure. Closed in quotes or closed?
No, we're
like,
closed. Yeah, man.
Right.
I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm doing stuff like I'm like, you know, working. So this is like catching up on stuff you don't get to do when the business is running. It's like, you know, spending hours like working on like body designs and headstock designs and things and like just drawing and like working out the art end of the craft.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I'll build some cables here and there. Okay, we got stock when we open back up. Messing around with like building pedals. I've been working on this one fuzz pedal for a couple years now, just prototype after prototype, and it just doesn't sound right to my ear, so I don't want to put my name on it yet.
Yeah.
So
that always amazes. So did you have to learn about like a lot about like electronics to do that? I was like, like making a guitar is one thing. I can kind of understand that, but like doing a pedal and how you get all these electronics to make a tone that you want.
Yeah.
Is a whole different game.
What electronics ping the best?
Yeah. Did you have to ping different circuitry?
I am an idiot with that shit. Like I know how to like build this stuff, right? And I know it sounds good. So I start off just building like clones of things. I take a schematic or even like a kit that you assemble yourself and like really learn how to do it. And then I start swapping out components. Oh, okay, this sounds a little bit better. This makes it hotter. And at the same time, I'm like reading books about electronics and stuff like that. So I'm getting more theory behind it. Like I couldn't tell you, you know, explain Ohm's law right now to you, but I get it if I have like the meter and everything in front of me.
Well, I'm not going to take you seriously unless you can explain Ohm's law to me right now.
Well, that's like you know the blues lawyer. You know how it is. Like some like blues lawyer comes in.
Can you make a brown tone pedal?
Yeah,
Do you know what the brown tone is?
Oh yeah, that Eddie Van Halen shit, dude. The brown sound.
There's allegedly a sound, like a tone that you can make that will make someone shit their pants.
Oh, bro.
Because it just jostles the bowels at a certain frequency. Okay, so I'm going to tap Joe in right now. So,
get in there.
Mike has to go take a leak, so I'm going to tap Joe in, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the brown sound.
So,
hey, you know what? I like having two people here because we don't have to pause or do anything weird.
Swap out.
Yeah,
but I'm just going to fucking crash the interview right now. Like,
all right.
So, if Mike can definitely get that brown tone pedal, like I'll be more into playing live.
Yeah,
like in bands, because I mean I think that would be
because we got to do it. I'll be your guitar tech, and but my only job will be to get the brown tone, the brown sound out there,
the brown sound,
the brown frequency.
You know, like if a tone like that actually exists, like
this is the stuff
metal bands, like especially like the bands that are like, you know, like real like they have that black metal image, like they're into like evil shit.
Yeah,
like. Literally, literally. I mean, I think like, you know, they're into like the metal bands with the brown tone guitar pedal.
Yeah,
like that's gonna make like metal shows way more extreme, especially in Germany.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like metal fests in Germany, we're gonna crowds of 10,000 people. They're just all shitting themselves.
Yeah,
like
Scheiße.
Like Mike, like scratch that fuzz tone pedal.
Brown tone
pedal.
But the brown tone is only going to be like a throughway pedal.
Yeah.
Like where, you know, it'll be in between the guitar and the distortion pedal or whatever affects people. Yeah. It'll just be another one on the rack that gets turned on at certain points.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're not going to play the brown tone the whole time.
Well, I mean, eventually people are going to be like, there's going to be, if you have like a 30-minute set and you're just running the brown tone pedal for the whole 30-minute set, like eventually your audience is just going to be
gone.
They're going to be dehydrated. There's not enough concessions at the club for them to rebuild shit.
Now, if I was a guitar tech for say some band like, throw this out, like Killswitch Engage.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I would put the brown tone pedal on, but I would only hit it at the crescendo of like the most epic fucking solo. And it's like, so you get it becomes monumental. Like this solo was so fucking crazy.
I shit myself.
That people shit themselves right at the fucking crest of the wave.
Yeah.
Be like, fucking turd surfing the fucking brown pipeline, dude.
And
you know what I mean?
Just as a musician, like
Josh,
you
work that into the production budget
Yeah.
for the next
So,
tour. With
you want to you're like, all right, this is our most epic song. This is going to be the solo that you're going to be using the brown
This is
tone
the-
on.
the fucking hype.
Like you as a musician, you don't want your crowd just to be like shitting themselves, and then you're like, man, we blew our load fucking early in the set. Like
No.
The whole club smells like shit. Like I still got to play 20 minutes worth more music. Like, you want that to be like
this is like
not even like this is not the encore. Like,
no.
Or maybe you use it for your encore.
No.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, this needs to be at the crescendo of like the guitar, like the most epic guitar solo right before the song, right before you take the break for the encore, because then because that is gonna separate the crowd. The people that shit themselves, some are gonna leave, but only the most hardcore fans are gonna stay for like the 2 or 3 encore songs with a fucking load in their fucking diaper.
And I mean, and if it's the first time that you've used it.
Yeah,
like
you want to see the difference.
That's when the waves are going to part with your fan base. Like you're just going to be like people are like, what? Like, and I mean, somebody who's a non-musician who's going to see your band, they're just like, I don't fucking know what happened, man. Like they just played like I just shit myself.
Yeah,
like, and
but
like,
I need to.
Your buddy, like the ride on the home, they're gonna be like, yeah, man, I shit myself too.
Yeah, but I
we're not gonna see this band.
Is so epic. I need to see what the fuck happens next.
Yeah, like.
And then the singer even needs to call that out at a certain point. Be like, who's the real fucking Killswitch? I'm going to talk to Jesse about this. Who's the real Killswitch fans?
Yeah.
Who's got a load in their pants and is still fucking here? Yeah, you're the fucking real fans.
And who's going to be the fans that are going to go see them on the next time they go through the town? They're going to be like, hey, listen, last time I was here, like saw these guys, I completely shit myself. And like it's been known to happen. They got that brown tone pedal that Mikey Flynn designed.
Yeah.
Well, then you can sell diapers at the merch
the Flynn Industries brown the brown sound pedal.
I mean, like yeah, man, like scratch that fuzz pedal. Like, you really want to make your name on the industry. On the industry.
Let's do it. We're carving out the pathway for your career right now.
Well, no, guys have shitty tone. We may shitty tones. Have actual shit.
Actual shitty tone.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that there's an underlying shit tone underneath the most beautiful, perfect sounding guitar tone on top of it.
So you don't even feel bad once
you
it
don't
happens.
feel bad. You don't feel bad about making that pedal.
But I mean, on the other side, it's just like it was a full body emotional release.
It was. Exactly.
But I mean, on the other hand, like I've known you've done hype stuff for like bands that like you're introducing the band. But like if like say if it's like you're playing in like a rougher like heavy band, I mean, like. Pass the mic to a dude such as yourself, and you're like, "All right, you pussies, you ready to shit?" And then fucking like, they're like, "Oh," and like, All right, I gotta get. I'm passing this back to Flynn.
All right,
Goes back to
this just deep.
Now I gotta pass the mic. What's up?
As we said earlier, we're gonna kamikaze at some point. I feel like
we're starting to descend.
I feel like I feel like Pearl Harbor is in view, and we're coming down.
Dude, it's like the fucking Dave Matthews Band dropping the bus shit. Or all like, why were those guys shitting on the fucking tour bus? That's rule number one. Don't shit on the bus.
What's the story?
So Dave Matthews Band got in trouble for like emptying the fucking, I don't know if the driver emptied the septic or whatever on the bus, but like they dropped a bunch of shit on like the highway or something like that, like years ago.
Yeah.
But like, you don't shit. What kind of savages are shitting on a tour bus? You don't do that. Like you shit in a CVS bag and you fucking toss it. Like you're not shitting on the bus. That's a no.
Yeah.
You're totally painting the rock and roll tour band lifestyle.
Unless you shit in a bag and throw it into someone else's bunk, then.
Dude, we took a stowaway one night in Europe. It was a merch guy for some other band, and they found him sleeping upside down in the bunk, like the back way, like backwards from how you should sleep. And he'd shit on the wall or something in the bathroom. Or this dude was just like this shit bomber that stumbled on the bus, blackout drunk.
Yeah.
That was no bueno.
No, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that ending in any good way for anybody.
No.
So I'm trying.
Anyways, back.
I got to think about. So
we took that doo-doo drop, man. I should have taken a shit on the break.
You should really think about if you really want to take any more breaks, because you know what's going to happen now.
I might have to take more.
Me and Joe are going to get on a really fucking
go for a quick run.
We're going to go on a total de-escalation, stupid rail. But yeah, so anyway, so you did some time on the road, and then you got to a point where it was time to, no pun intended, shit or get off the pot with your guitar company.
100%.
And you had your accountant behind you saying, all right, this is kind of the plan. Like, let's get you going.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Like you started going, and I think what I think something that I found interest in that is a parallel to like my shop here. Like you can see there's a couple of bikes that are full custom builds. Those have been on hold a little while because there's so much service work, which the service and repair work is what keeps the lights on so that we can do the cooler shit on the side. Like,
yes.
And I feel like, I think that's kind of where you were going. Like now that things close down, you can get more, on the design stuff for the things you want to build.
Yeah.
But the build is a crazy thing because you like in the motorcycle world, it's hard to get paid. You can't really get paid for every hour you have into a full custom build.
No.
And I kind of have a feeling the guitar thing will be kind of the same way.
Well, so
and it's more of a labor of love, and you do it
in a way. Like my end of it is I have no interest in building custom guitars.
No,
like I don't. Maybe something here or there for fun, right? Like an art project, right?
Yeah. But then
like,
why did you go to Luthier in college?
I want to.
I know I said
right?
it wrong on purpose.
Like I want to make a line of guitars.
Okay.
Like you know what I mean. So I actually want to do like American manufacturing.
All right. So you want to do like a line. You're gonna make the prototype or whatever, and then kind of go from there and put it into like a production line.
Yep. Start making batches, like like the standard, then the special that has all the bells and whistles.
Sure,
right?
I got you.
This is how it comes. You know, it comes with 2 pickups or it comes with 1 pickup.
Yeah.
But you don't get a choice.
Sure.
In which one it is, like that type of thing. So that way,
if you wanted something else, you can bring it back to me and I'll put whatever else you want on it. But this is the 2 options you have for that.
Because the idea is making the highest quality shit with as much American made shit and locally sourced stuff. So back to pinging wood, we have a lot of like good black walnut. We have a lot of good like hard maple and stuff in the area. So ideally I'd like to use mahogany, but that's not local. So I'd rather source local woods and work with that and build it from that. So as much as close as we can keep the supply chain, that's like really kind of my idea. Like I love the idea of American manufacturing coming back. There's this like jiu-jitsu gi company in Maine.
Yeah, Jocko Willick's company.
Yeah, Origin. Like those when I was opening my shop.
They make jeans too.
Yes. So that the first time he was on Jocko's podcast was I'd signed the lease on my shop and I had a month to get it ready. And the place was a fucking dump. It was like this strip mall that was built like it should be in Arizona, but it's in Massachusetts. So it had flat roofs and it was all fucked up. And it looked like an 80s movie, like Karate Mall.
That's basically where my tattoo shop is in that exact
a catalog mall, they call it, right?
Yeah.
So,
flat roofs, like
the place is.
We have a waterfall hitting our back door, like whenever it rains or snows.
I had leaks, man. So it was a shoe store, like a kid's shoe store from like I went there in like the early '80s to get sneakers when I was a kid, right? I go in, it's like this gross pink carpet. Like the lady had been ripping butts in there for 20 years or whatever, So I had a month to really do some work, and that podcast had came out with Pete Roberts, and I was just like, wow, this dude's story is insane. Like that kept me going. I pulled up the carpet day 1, right? And then it was all the glue. I had this delusion I was going to have a nice like concrete floor. Like 3 days, I'm just scraping glue off the floor, powering that podcast and coffee, just like, all right, like, let's go. Then I was like, fuck this. I'm going to Home Depot and buying some like 25-cent a yard carpet,
Yeah.
So,
well, you could have put like a pergo floor down or something. There's a few options.
We're running it punk rock, man. It's a low budget affair, you know?
Sure,
so
I get it, yeah.
What's the bang for the buck, you know?
If I go in there and there's pergo floors, I know you've kind of stepped it up to the next level.
Well, so we're in a new location now, which is a whole nother story.
Right.
But that place, like we got going in there, like I spent that month just being motivated. And those guys, when I heard that guy talking about what he was doing, how they're like, we're getting cotton from America, and then we bought a loom and we're like making it ourselves. That blew my mind. It's like, why can't we do that in the guitar industry? Like for a long time now, Gibson's made some pretty shitty fucking guitars, to be honest. And that's not like bashing anybody. That's a pretty like popular consensus.
Sure,
like,
and it's a sad thing for a lot of people I know.
Well, they get into like the lifestyle stuff, like Bluetooth headsets and all that shit, and it's like, dude, just make like a bitchin' Les Paul that a dude can afford for like $1,800, like it was the '90s again or something, right? Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. Like, dudes that are, okay, maybe you're in a little hardcore band, but you're touring every summer and you need a guitar that holds up and feels good and sounds good. Cool. Like $1,500, $1,200. Like I want people to afford it. I'd rather make as many as I can and make less money off it. But dudes have like the right
more of
shit.
them out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of the whole angle, right?
Sure.
So hearing about what these dudes are doing with American manufacturing was like, all right. And I already had the BMX thing. Like S&M Bikes was a very American-made company. And that's like, well, these guys are doing it. And now this guy's doing it. And now I'm actually getting my feet on the floor. Like, you know, I got going and I like took the commitment, took the dive, like sold off every like investment or, you know, every money I had in savings from touring. Like, let's go. Here we are. Like, we're going for it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think the only way in that situation to be successful is that grind.
You got to go all in.
Outwork everybody. Just, you know, I was living in my office for a while. You know what I mean? It's like you're just grinding and grinding and grinding. And it's like, well, I should probably get an employee, but I'd rather work 90 hours a week. And that's that much more money I can put back into the business.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand is like they think, all right, well, you're doing all these guitars, you're selling them with $1,200 a pop, or if I come in and it's $300 to get it, you guys, you're getting paid, and it's like, no, that money's going right back into the business. I still do that here with the bike shop. Like
Exactly.
I take a very measly, you know, weekly check if you know, and then in 3 months in the winter, I take nothing.
Yeah.
And just keep it all in the shop, you know, and that's what it is. And I live off the tattoo shit or whatever. But yeah, you just got to keep reinvesting.
Exactly.
Or it's, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if it's the same way with guitar stuff, but like I see a lot of bike shops come out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden they get this like 30-foot trailer with all fucking vinyl wrapped and this and that. And then you don't see them a year and a half later, and it's like you just didn't realize what you get into. You spent this big nut on all this shit you didn't fully need.
Exactly.
And you didn't reinvest. You probably tried to keep all the money for yourself, and then that's basically a recipe for failure, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, in this world, because of the shit we do, it's such a limited reach market. It's not, you're not building something that
It's so
everybody in the
niche.
world needs. It's such a niche thing. You can only survive by sacrificing and doing it to the fullest extent. And then hope people realize it and respect that and support it.
Yeah.
And they will if you do. If you know, cream rises to the top is always kind of a saying, you know, and it's like but I know you said you don't do full custom guitars, but I guarantee you if like Kerry King came in and said, "Hey, I want a fucking full custom guitar," you might wouldn't reevaluate
I have
that?
zero interest in making custom guitars.
No, that's
man.
weird.
Like,
That's bizarre to me.
like,
I
it's some,
guess
like,
it's because I make custom bikes, so it's like
there's an intrigue to it. Like it's, you know, if I did one, it would be like I'm making it as a gift for somebody.
I got it. Yeah,
that type of
All
thing.
right,
Or
I
I'm
get
making it as like, I've always wanted like a Gibson ES335, right? I'm just gonna make myself like a bitchin' one.
Yeah, I
Right,
get
that
it,
type
yeah.
of thing. Like I have no interest. Like if like, you know, some like blues lawyer comes in and he's like, $10,000 my budget, make me a killer Strat copy like a 63. Dude, I don't know, man. I don't care. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
That's cool.
I want to. I just
Not your lane.
It's cool. Like I like, man, I geek on custom guitars all day, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to do is that like meat and potatoes, like old school, like killer shit, like they were building
Yeah.
back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
That people can afford.
Yeah, that's what you got your eye on, at least for now. You
Yeah,
know
for
what I
now.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, who knows if things go well and, you know, I'm getting older. It's like, yeah, I'm down in the custom shop fucking around, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not where I'm thinking.
When you got a bunch of employees that are just hammering out the line, and then you can go in and fiddle around and play, then
yeah,
we'll get the Brown sound
Yeah,
pedal dialed in.
that's going to the top of the chalkboard, man.
I'm only laughing because like every now and then I turn over and look and I just see your eyes above like my stack of bullshit on this counter. That's fucking. But shit, yeah. So, where are things now? Like I know you said you're doing a lot of like setting up and servicing
Yeah.
and repairing guitars, and I know right now is COVID and shutdown and weird shit. But like you know, where are you at with the shop and whatnot, and kind of
We're in a really weird spot.
yeah.
I haven't played a guitar in like 2 months, let
Yeah.
alone even like fixed one, right?
And it's like weird because like it's got to be kind of like, you know, if you're set up and you're supporting a lot of musicians, no one's fucking playing anywhere.
Right.
So it's a whole dead fucking industry right now.
Well, with our thing, I moved so I got a new location in February, right?
Yeah.
So I had the month of February to get as many jobs out of the old shop while packing and moving every night and painting and getting stuff ready. And the goal was, we're out February 28th, we're open St. Patty's Day. Like, that's what we were aiming for.
Yeah.
And within that time, like,
That's right when everything
being a news
fucking
bug
hit.
and somebody that digs deep into conspiracy at points and stuff, I was following, like, a weird hobby that I have from high school. I read Richard Preston's The Hot Zone. I've been obsessed with Ebola outbreaks since I was like a junior in high school. So anytime I see anything in the news about Ebola, I'm like, all right, cool. What's going on with this? Right. So when I started hearing stuff about COVID breaking out in China, I was like on it. It was like, here we go. Like, I mean, it's the CCP. Like, they lie about Ebola numbers and what's coming out about that. Like, what's going on with this? Right. So I was down the wormhole. So I had kind of already been thinking, like, this makes it here. Like, things may shut down. Things may be fucked up for a while. And lo and behold, it does. Like, I think Massachusetts got the order for the shutdown like a day or two before St. Patrick's. So
Yeah.
at that point, I was at that point, like, okay, 2 24-hour days of busting my ass and we're ready to boogie. Let's go. And this happened. I was like, all right, well, fuck this. Like, I know I'm going to have to redo the shop 3 or 4 times to get a good workflow. I'm just going to take my sweet time and be ready at any point if it's time to go. But, you know, even now, like, if you walked into the showroom at the shop, it looks like a disaster area. Like, some of the cases are stocked, but I'll go in there and I'll mess around. I'll look around. It's like, all right, how's this going to work? I'll work with my workbench, see how it's going to work for workflow. I don't know about that. See how the front counter is going to work. I don't know. I eyeball it for a while, then take like 6 hours one day and make it perfect.
Yeah.
So it's an advantage. So in some ways, it's going to, when it's go time, it's going to be rad.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're working on, me and my buddy Kevin that played in the Prowl with me. Oddly enough, punk dude's doing stuff. He owns a bar in town. It was like this bar, the Nook, old, trashy, crazy dive bar when we were 21. They're like, get the fuck out of here type place, right? They bought this rad old building and they opened, like, they're doing punk shows there.
Yeah.
They're doing like cocktail bar type stuff. It's killer. So me and him are working on some stuff at the new shop, like vintage watches, like, you know, old sneakers and clothes, shit like that, records. So it's like we have this stockpile of stuff ready to go. That's like a new like section of the business. That's just like, what are we doing with this shit right now?
So with the guitar shop, are you also selling like guitars, like new and used guitars, or?
Yeah. So for new guitars, I work with this company called Comparison. They're based out of Japan. The Killswitch guys play them. The owner, Gabe, he's based in Wales. He's been over in America for quite a while now, and he'd come out on the road for a few days here and there. And he started sending me comparison work to do, like warranty work. So kind of like an American, like, centered for fixing their stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of their B stock, and like stuff that hasn't sold from other dealers will come through and stuff like that. But if somebody wants, like, okay, they want the new like Joel model, like, we can order that.
Yeah.
It's no problem. So we have some used stuff. Like, I'll buy like old beat up stuff and fix it up cool. Like put a custom pick guard on it, make it look nice, and like sell that. But 90% of the business is the service.
Yeah.
It's
cool, man. It's crazy what comparison is to the bike shop. Like, these 2 bikes out there, right? They're just like that one on the right I just picked up the other day. It's just kind of a beat up old Dyna. We're going to do a bunch of shit to it to make it cool and then sell it, you know, and make a little bit of a profit on it. Not crazy money, but and then have someone stoked on like a rad bike again. You know what I mean? Someone took that, put a bunch of dopey parts on it that we're going to defuck, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure the guitar is the same way. Things come in, you're like, this is a good base of a guitar, but it just needs this pickup and like this and this, and then it'll be really rad again.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. Cause it like, having worked for bands, like indie bands, like punk bands, like, you know, metal bands, all that,
everything.
You really know what all the stuff is because everybody's using different stuff. So at this point, I've played like everything. I know what everything does. And then having the technical background in it, like, I like to be able to make like really good, you know, I sell people shit that I don't carry more than I sell shit that I carry. You know what I mean? It's like, we'll get talking about something. They're like, all right, well, I'll take it, man. I'm like, I don't know, dude, go on Sweetwater, like eBay or something. I don't know. We're not a dealer. It's just kick ass. And that's the sound you want. Go get it, dude.
Yeah. So I got a little lost here. So if someone wants something that you don't, so like that you're not into, like, you don't. Well, like
if I don't carry it, if I'm not a dealer, right?
Yeah.
Like, we'll get talking, like, you know, nerding out about stuff, and it's like, oh, what do you think about this pedal? I'm like, it's badass, and I'll tell them about my experience with it, and then they're like, all right, cool. Like, do you got one? I'm like, no, I'm not a dealer.
Okay.
These guys up the road are a dealer or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I get it.
A lot of times it's like, it's never the hard sell. It's like, what works for you? Like a dude comes in, he's like, I want a fuzz pedal, right? Fuzz is like, do you want frying pan? Do you want like heavy distortion? There's a million things, right? So it's like, well, I want this one. Oh, all right, what are you playing? What are you doing? That might not work for what you're doing. This might work better, and that type of stuff.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's something I don't carry, but I know it's the sound the guy has in the head, and that's far more important to me than just selling him like whatever to make $50.
Yeah. Dude, we're exactly the same. People come in, I want this and this, and I was like, well, why? What kind of riding do you do? Like, you probably don't want really that.
Exactly.
Even though I know I could sell that to you and make, the $200 or whatever, you know what I mean? And then off the install or whatever. But I find that, anybody that has any kind of scruples in this and is like really involved in their industry because they love it, spends a lot of time talking people out of shit. That would be easy sales. And it sounds like that's just what you were saying. It's like, you probably, based on what you're saying, you want to go more with this. And it's
exactly
$200 cheaper. And, and it's like, I don't have it, but I know these guys over there got it. So go over there and grab that or whatever. And it's like, whatever.
Yep. That, and that helps. Because then you'll get a dude that's like, okay, I don't need this, but I want to get it for my buddy, and you carry it, like do that thing.
Yeah.
It's like the retail end's just fun. Like I want to stock rad shit that, everybody orders stuff off online. Retail's not huge for anybody, right?
Yeah.
But somebody's like, oh, I've been wanting this. You guys have it in stock. I can play it. It's like, cool, like grab it. I don't mark stuff up higher than the internet, really. It's like, so it's kind of like, or even if a dude comes in, can I play that? Cool. Do you want it? Oh, no, it doesn't work. It's not like what I'm thinking. Cool. Like, glad you checked it out.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Like,
be like, oh, but maybe you want this instead or whatever. Yeah. There's like, and that's the same thing with here, man. Like the retail, like so many people, I gotta admit, I get a little more aggro with it than you, but like with motorcycles, it's a little different than a guitar because someone can die.
Exactly.
So someone comes in, I got this on Amazon, and it's like, it's Chinese garbage, bro. Like, no, like we're not putting it on, or like, no, it's probably not going to work. I could have got you something for maybe $20 more that would have been way fucking better, but you didn't. But you thought you were going to save some money on Amazon. And I would say, is Amazon fucking doing that install for you, bud? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you come into the local shop, like, but even like things like, like pickups or something, like you were saying, but like people come in helmets, like you don't know what size you are. You're going to order something online, come in here and try them on, you know what I mean? See what feels better. And then a lot of times someone comes in, they're dead set on like, oh, I want this Simpson, and they end up buying a Biltwell or vice versa. You know what I mean? And it's like, because they try all this shit on and like, oh, this bell actually feels the best. I didn't even think about that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I always say that as a way to, local businesses are there for a reason, and they're going to give you better service than the fucking internet will. Like, and if you can save $10 on the internet and then you go buy it off the internet instead of the guy that has it in stock, you're a fucking asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and fuck you, no one wants your business anyway. Right. You know what I mean? I don't know why I just got on that little diatribe, but we all deal with every day. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's weird. It's weird how many parallels there are between. And I'm sure it's like that with all kinds of shit. When you get into a custom industry, like you're dealing with all the same shit. It's just different products and different stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Well,
like, I worked in like some independent bike shops growing up. Cause like after I stopped doing BMX, I got out of high school, I started racing downhill mountain biking. Yeah. Which is a shit. You ride the chairlift to the top of a ski slope and you're on it for, 30 miles an hour boogieing. So
I know that's a lot of the same shit.
It's working in a bike shop, like you said, with the helmets, exact same thing. A guy would come in, he's like, oh, I want the Fox full face. And he ends up going away with like a replaceable full face bell or something like that. It's like, no, you can have an open face on your trail rides. You're not hitting like Black Diamond downhill trails. Like you're going out for fun with your buddies and maybe hitting a jump. Like this is going to be more comfy, dude. And it's going to protect you just as well.
Exactly.
You don't need like a DOT like moto helmet. Yeah. Now, if you're a serious downhill racer, you might want that DOT because you're knocking your head. That's why I'm a fucking idiot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that annoys me is I got people, I'll spend an hour with them looking up all these parts, and I see them taking pictures or writing part numbers on. What are you doing? I was like, it's right here. I can put it in the computer, tell you what. Oh, I'm just going to check online, see if I can get it cheaper. I was like, well, I told people, I'm like, I'm going to tell you why that's a dickhead move, and then do with it as you will.
Yeah.
But I try and calm down and be like, that's a dickhead move because I just spent an hour of my time helping you find the right shit. Now you're going to go see if you can check online to find it for like $5 or $10 cheaper. They didn't help you. And this is someone from like some company that bought 50 of them and can sell them a little cheaper than me because all they have is a warehouse space, or they're drop shipping it. They don't even have anything, and they just drop shipping it right from a distributor or a manufacturer. I was like, that's what's killing small businesses. Like, you know what I mean? Small businesses are here because we're going to give you better service. And my overhead's a lot more than some guy that has a storage unit in fucking Tuscaloosa, fucking wherever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not raping you and making more money. It's like, you know, my cost of doing business is more so that I can offer you this kind of level of service.
Right.
So fuck you if you're going to do that. And I'm like, if you do that, then I'm not installing that. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, good luck. Find some place to fucking do it, or fucking read something, you know, go online and see if some asshole shows you how to install that on YouTube. And when you fuck it up and you bring it here, guess what? My rate just went to fucking $25 more an hour to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then that changes. I think, you know, some people don't do it from a perspective of like, they're not like innate assholes. They just don't realize what a violation it is because they didn't grow up in any world where there was like honor and common sense and fucking, you know what I mean? And common decency. Like they're just so self-absorbed. It's like, oh, how can I save fucking 32 cents? You know?
Well, you know, when that happens, like a dude will be looking, and I'm like, if you're looking for the lowest price, yeah, if you find something that's like cheaper, like, yeah, I'll do it for the same price. Like, I think, you know, I do my best to like, I look on like Sweetwater and like Musician's Friend and Reverb, and I'm like, okay, what are these going for? Okay. Like,
yeah, I try and do that too. The problem is in the motorcycle industry, I don't know if it's the same in the guitar. There's these like mega like stores like Revzilla and like Motorcycle Warehouse that sell to the consumer. And this is me blowing some shit up, right? Yeah. Sometimes they have shit cheaper to the consumer than what my dealer price is from my distributor. I'm like, because they're buying thousands of them and just sitting on them in a warehouse. Like they go right to the manufacturer and buy 1,000 of that size in model tire. And they're selling that tire cheaper than I can even get it for. Like it'd be cheaper for me to get it from them than one of my parts distributors. It's fucking insanity. Now, what a lot of like responsible manufacturers have done, and they put like map pricing in place.
Yes.
So like a Biltwell helmet is the same price whether it's online or through my shop.
Exactly.
And that helps us. And they do it just for that. You know what I mean? And that's actually like cool and responsible capitalism to me. Like, that's what you should do. Like, you know, you shouldn't let someone buy 2,000 of them for you and then undercut and slit everybody's fucking throats.
Well, that's the thing, because say you buy like 2,000 packs of strings from Ernie Ball, you're getting a serious break on those, right? But you can still only sell them for whatever, $8 or whatever.
$8, and you can sell it, you can put it on sale for like 10% or something. You know what I mean?
When they tell you can.
When they tell you can, or you can only advertise it like this way. You know what I mean? To me, like I'm full. That is companies that care about an industry.
Exactly.
And is helping everybody, because the online shit, you know, as we saw like with all this COVID shit, not to get into the whole COVID shit, like I put a thing out yesterday, Amazon 100% profits.
Yeah.
Like 100% increase in profits in 2020. Like that's fucking bananas.
Mind bending, dude.
Mind bending. And meanwhile, 20 to 30% of U.S. small businesses have gone out of business.
Right.
And we're not even at the tip of the fucking spear yet. Like the economic hardship of all this hasn't even hit yet. We're still like, people are still glowing from their extra $600 a week that just ended a couple weeks ago. So that, you know what I mean? Like wait till next year, motherfuckers. Like, you know, we might very well be close to Mad Max fucking times, or like Food Line fucking in communist Russia times, dude. Like
better dead than red, man.
Yeah,
fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. Absolutely. I got enough ammunition and fucking things to get whatever the fuck I want, whenever the fuck I want.
Amen.
Bro, I will trade you some stuff for some 45 rounds. You got anything? You want some posters or something like that? Like,
yeah, the ammunition's wicked hard to come by right now.
I went to like cause.
Yeah, just come closer. Yeah.
So like,
no, you don't have to get on.
No.
No, I can hear you fine. We can hear you fine.
So
the tag team, and while one goes to take a piss.
He's got to go take a tinkle.
Yeah.
So like,
you're gonna knock on some wood.
Yeah. So he's gonna ping some wood
back there.
It's like, oh, you got some good wood, like, you know. So anyhow, like Mike came from like Western Mass last night, and like we're like, you know, we're all big Bridgewater Triangle fucking nerds.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, like we're like. Obviously, like the Chris Pittman interview, like, you know, I was like, dude, we gotta go check out some of these fucking spots, like get fucking raped by Bigfoot, do all this shit, you know, get abducted by aliens. So he came over to my house like last night after I got out of work, but on the way there, I'm like,
it's not just a common thing, but Bigwood is known for pinging wood as well. I think we just
I think
they pink.
what do you know about Bigfoot and pinging wood? Like he's a big wood pinger, right?
You know, aren't they known for smashing logs on trees and shit? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's basically what you do to a smaller extent to find the right guitar wood.
I mean,
maybe Bigfoot makes guitars.
Made the guitar for
he makes
Johnson.
he makes it.
That's why he came back a motherfucker.
That's what you gotta do. Bigfoot Guitar Works, right there. We just launched a business idea for somebody.
Well, all our logos are UFOs and shit.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, and apparently Bigfoot is now like an alien or a demonic entity. So I mean,
or a non-human intelligence.
Non-human intelligence. Well, I mean, you know, you gotta have to have some non-human intelligence probably to learn how to build like if you want to build good guitar products and ping wood.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you got to be the best. I'm chilling off. Anyhow,
I'm definitely not human. Man.
Yeah, I know.
They dropped me off like ET.
Yeah.
So he came over the house like last night, and we're like, all right, we're gonna like try some like Bridgewater Triangle shit in like the middle of the woods and stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm probably not too much of a good fighter. Like, you know, it's like if I'm thinking like supernatural cryptid stuff, like a Pukwudgie comes out, it's like I'm just gonna try to run, man. I don't know, but I'm like, but if some like sketchy Satanist comes out, I'm gonna fucking kneecap him like a slug. So it's like that I can get behind. I know what I'm dealing with. So, or I would like talk to him about like black metal or something. Be like, man, what's on your iPod, man? Your phone. I don't know. People don't use iPods anymore. So anyhow, like on the way home from work, I'm like, I need some ammo. So like I went to like my local place, and like I was like, hey, what's going on? I was like, I bought like a 45 from you guys like a couple weeks ago. I was like, I need some ammo and stuff like that. And the guy just kind of looked at me and he's like,
yeah,
yup. And I was like, so I'd like to purchase some. And he's like, I can't find any right now. He's like,
I'd love to sell you some.
Well, no, he's like, what I have is I have bags of ammunition that some dude made down the street. And I was like, oh, so it's like some just dude
reloads,
just make it. And I was like, okay, man, I'll take like, I was like, what's the prices on it? He's like, it's $20 for a bag of 25. And I was like, okay, give me 2 bags. So like I bought 2 bags of just like loose ammunition.
Lucy's.
Lucy's. And I was like, all right, cool. Like hopefully this guy who made this shit isn't gonna fucking blow out the barrel of my fucking gun. And then like I was like, all right, well let me try like another shop that's closer to my house. So like I called the guy up. I was like, yeah, I'm looking for like some 45s, and he's like, all we have is hollow points. And I'm like, well, okay, just like put a box of hollow points aside for me. So it's like,
but that's what you want anyway.
Well, I mean, for like kneecapping a Bigfoot, definitely. Like, you know, I think hollow points is good. But I mean, like, if for somebody who's still trying to like get good, like I'm not going to be going to the range and shooting hollow points. You know,
use the reloads at the range. Keep the
hollow points is for like
safe.
defense
for the house. Yeah.
So it was funny, and it was just like so like I went and like it was just like the gun shops are just fucking
decimated.
Everything's empty, and like it's like I can get some trades with somebody's sitting on a stockpile of stuff, and it's like maybe it's only a matter of time next year you're gonna need water. I might have like a can of beans that I can trade. Beans, give me some Lucy's. Like I don't know,
some Lucy reloads.
Yeah, it's like
sardines.
So I don't know. Like next year will be interesting. You know, this wintertime will be interesting when the flu. The normal flu and colds come, and then everyone
thinks they have COVID, or the COVID numbers get highly inflated again. But like I said, and lest anybody, because everyone gets all fucking weird and butthurt and panties in a bunch. Yeah, I do not doubt the realness of COVID as a entity, as a disease. It exists.
Yeah,
it just isn't as bad as everyone wants you to think it is. Like, unless you've got pre-existing conditions or you're a certain age range or whatever, like I don't doubt it. I don't think people should not take precautions about it.
Yeah.
But it's just the response we're having to it is insanity. I would have been all for like a 2 or 3 week total shutdown of fucking everything.
Yeah.
Okay, shut everything down. No one on the streets for 3 weeks. Let's get this fucking thing blowing the fuck out. Let it die off. But all right, Walmart can open, but your local hardware store can't, or whatever that's deemed non-essential can't open. Like fuck that. Like some dude, like for you, for example, your guitar store. I don't know what you have for traffic, but I'm assuming you might have like 5 to 10 people through there on a good day. You know,
I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
More high visibility location.
But like, so for like here, Chopperhead, right? You know, 5 to 10 people. You know, versus how many thousands of people walk through the doors of a fucking Walmart or a fucking Target or whatever. Like, just use common sense with shit. Like Like, there's way more chance of exposure in those places than a small mom and pop store where maybe 5 or 10 people go through. And guess what? Walmart has the money to stay closed for 3 months if they needed to. Most local businesses don't, you know what I mean? And you're going to kill all these local businesses to keep all these big fucking mega conglomerates in fucking business showing record fucking profits.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
fucking bananas.
Even the gun store that I went to pick up those hollow points, like, they had like a system where like, and I mean, it might also just because like there's like crazy riots and shit going on. Not really in our necessary area.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, they had a sign that's like, wait outside. And then one of the employees would like look out the door. He comes out and then he's like, let me see your LTC.
Yeah.
Show him my card. He's like, all right, you can come in. And then he's like, you know, wash your hands. Like, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and then it's like, and then like they had like,
there's a whole line of stringent things.
They had like a tape, like circulating around their store where it's like, you know, don't lean on the counters. Don't fucking.
Yeah.
Like just keep your distance between the dudes on the other side of the counter. It's like okay, like I can understand like this is.
Well, you got to understand. In
Massachusetts,
Massachusetts, gun stores are on such critical eye. They got to do everything 100% by the book. Even like the tattoo shop, we got to take everyone's temperature when they come in. We got to wear masks. We got to wear goggles. We got to do all this fucking shit.
The other gun store that I went to that I bought the Lucy's though, like those dudes are just like
they don't give a fuck.
Rock and roll.
No, I'm gonna tell you what. Do not say the name of that place
I'm not
or the town or anything. But if there's a gun shop selling loose reloads, they do not give a fuck about anything. They're like, fuck you. Like, we'll sell you whatever the fuck you want.
And they have like a sign on the front door that says like, you must wear a mask. So I'm like, okay, so I put on my mask and I go in there. And the second that I get in there, the guy goes, you can take off your mask, man. This is fucking America. And
Yeah.
You are getting my business.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. You know what I mean? And
Lifetime customer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's like I was telling the story. Me and Packer went into a bar in an unknown town in somewhere in Massachusetts during the height of all this shit when everything was still closed.
Might have been a dream.
In this, it could have been a dream. It could be real. I don't know. Yeah, it could have been a psilocybin flashback. Yeah. But we went into a bar that was completely open, and it was it was connected to kind of like a restaurant thing. Yeah. But the bar was jam packed. No one wearing masks. Everybody just fucking having a good time and drinking like it was like 5 months ago. And there's no flare-ups in that town. Like, there's no weird flare-ups. Like, you know, and they were like, we didn't close a single fucking damn day. Like, and I'm going to start calling for that. Like, fucking small businesses, dude, have fucking resistance to fucking tyranny, dude. Say, fuck you. Like, come in, wear a mask, do all the precautions, but there's no reason you should be shut down anymore, dude. Like,
it's kind of
and there's no difference between like a bar and a restaurant. Like you can, like, this guy only sells alcohol, so he can't open, but this guy sells alcohol in a bag of chips and he can open.
Right.
That's the level of stupidity we're at with what can be open and what can't be open. Yep. And that's what needs to be fucking addressed. Like, you know,
I'd love to hear like more places like speakeasies. Like, how come speakeasies aren't fucking? I mean, maybe they are, and I'm just not in the know. But like speakeasy bars just ain't like popping up now. Like
they probably are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's shit. But that's like what walking into this bar was like, except that it was like in a strip mall in a regular place. They were just like, fuck you, we're not closing. Like, you know, like, you know, and everybody that's like, you know, blah blah blah, you're gonna spread it. Like, I don't like. I don't. It's like such a moot point. Like, it's hard to.
It's also even crazy where it's like, even like I think we were having this conversation yesterday or something like the day before. It's just like, how come there's not like and once again, maybe it's because I'm an old man. I'm not in the know, but I mean, like, is there any like underground punk shows that are happening where people are like, yeah, fuck it, let's just have like some like basement shows and shit like that? It's like,
well, no, because I think what happened is you see online you see like a lot of this is a thread that's been going through my podcast lately. Yeah. Like, so many fucking punk rock kids have just drank the Kool-Aid of like, and following the thing. Like, oh, you gotta wear your mask. You gotta do this and that. And it's like,
insane.
You know,
well, it's like, fuck the government. The government are Nazis.
Yeah.
But you got to wear a mask because the government said so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, what the
you can't pick and choose, man. Like, punk rock 101, question the fucking authority, and it doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican or whatever. Question fucking all of them, and none of them really have your interests at fucking heart. Like, there's nothing. I referred to the meme of like the guy sitting behind the thing. Convinced me otherwise. No one's convinced me otherwise yet. Like, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, "Well, that's the Republicans are doing this and that," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, we're the Democrats. Like, they're not calling for stores opening or whatever either. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And well, it's this and that. Well, it's the Republicans doing this or it's the Democrats doing that. No, it's both of them, like a bigger master pulling the strings, making you say the Democrats are doing this or the Republicans are doing this and fighting like bullshit fights when you sit back and look at the whole picture. And it's like, there's a whole fucking level either of ineptness or fuckery that's going on that is like fucking insanity right now. And our whole way of life has changed in 3 fucking months.
It's so bizarre.
It's so funny with like coming from like subcultures that like everybody's like, all right, always question everything that you've been told.
Yeah. Until now.
Like,
yeah.
And everyone's like, I completely believe mainstream
media.
And it's like, wait a minute. Like,
yeah.
Why? Why would you like you're listening to fucking like Crass or something like that? Like,
You're listening to Crass and also MSNBC or Fox News and believing it all. Like, it's like
some sort of like find some money trails of where shit's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting a FedEx delivery right now.
FedEx in the house.
FedEx right now.
You want me to?
Can you open that door for him? Yeah. Oh wait, he might be taking off. But run out there. Can you do a favor? Run out there real quick. That might be my my capsule machine. Your capsule machine? Yeah, that's why I'm interested in that.
Time capsule.
Time capsule, yeah. So, all right, man. Black hole guitars, dude. What the fuck else?
Yeah, I mean, that's, where, who knows what's going on, we're waiting to open and that's kind of where we're at.
Cool.
I think that's pretty up to speed on that shit. It's kind of, people have been hitting me up and I'm kind of like, it sucks because I'm like, I feel like for like 2 months now, I've been like, yeah, I'm shooting for 2 weeks, man. And now it's just like, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because part of it is like the safety end of it, right? It's super low volume. Like, I mean, right now I'm like, do I go work at the dispensary part-time and then do the shop appointment only, just like until things get back to normal?
Are you allowed to open yet with the thing or are you phase 4?
I can open, but the like my whole like mentality on it is like, top
Is
service.
it worth open?
Is it worth opening? Like,
Yeah.
It's such a niche thing. Like, everybody's bored right now because they've been like sitting around the house playing and they're noticing their guitars are fucked up and it's seasonal changes. So yeah, maybe I get slammed for a month, but nobody's playing gigs. Like, what's the maintenance after that? So my thing is like, if I can like sit and like progress in other ways and work, like I do a lot of studio stuff and shit like that. So if I can work on other things and take care of like back end business stuff, like, reorganizing my scheduling system, reorganizing the bookkeeping, all that stuff, the doldrum shit, I mean, like I'm a massive procrastinator. So it's like taxes get done like the night before.
Oh no, that's my text. It's his, he bought a Chevelle and that's some of his linkages for his rear end. Where do you want to throw this? Just right there. It's fine. Oh, I got all excited, but I didn't. Who knew FedEx had Sunday deliveries, dude?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Fucking they, all these
But FedEx voting.
The crazy thing is that dude knows if that didn't end up here. The reason why I was saying it is because he knows where I live and he goes and brings it to my house afterwards, and so I get all kinds of chophead packages at my house.
With all these mailboxes mysteriously disappearing.
Post
office getting sketchy.
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, they gotta carry the slack.
FedEx is carrying the torch of delivery in the U.S. But yeah, so what is like your plan for like? It's one thing to service guitars. It's next to like kind of launch a line. Is that something you've been kind of working? Like, because you got to kind of get into like, that's going to be something you might need people for.
Right. So where I'm at now with it is I've taken this time to work on stuff like designs and like, I've kept a notebook. Like if a bitchin' guitar comes through, it's like, oh, I'll take measurements. Like, oh, this is his neck profile. This is like, this is that. This is what is really killer about this particular one from this model year. Right. I'm sure you guys, keep some tabs on shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's compiling that stuff. Oh yeah. What's that? What feels good? Buying guitars, playing more guitars, like making drawings. I mean, a headstock where the tuners are is like one of the hardest things to design because the parameters are so tight. There's like different, you got to cheat in one way or the other. It's always like a compromise.
Yeah,
and you got to make it look cool, but it does like, it helps the tone in ways or it can hurt the tone in ways. And even just getting the shape of it, it's like everything's been done. It's like punk rock. Everything's been done. How do you put a spin on it that like is cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with choppers. Like everything's been done.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same way in guitars is that there's like tried and true classic shapes and classic things that are no matter what are fucking cool. Like a 60s style chopper or a 70s style chopper is always going to be cool no
Timeless.
matter what. But there's all kinds of gaudy shit that's happened over the last 20 years that isn't, and is, you know, and there's things that are more cyclical, but there's things that are always timeless. So
Right.
if you could take something like, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but if you take like a classic Gibson design, like an SG or something, and just make it more playable and more better, that's always going to do good. But obviously you're going to want to put your stamps on it,
Right.
or whatever. Like, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm just saying, like, if someone were to do that, like, it's always going to be,
Well,
you know, like a cool thing, you know?
you know, like I look at it, it's like writing punk songs or whatever. It's like, you know, there's a little bit of Bad Brains here. There's a little bit of the Cockney Rejects here. There's a little bit of Warzone over here.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little Marauder over here.
Yeah.
You know, it's that, you know, so guitar design, I look at the same way. My main thing is like the guy that made Johnny Ramone's guitars, right? That's what got me into it. But at the same time, it's like I dig Gibson stuff. I dig Fender stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just that melting pot that makes it cool.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, fuck yeah, man. So, if you don't know, Mike and Joe went on a little Bridgewater Triangle expedition last night.
Oh yeah.
I as guest producer, I have to ask Joe, like, what are some of the other content areas that you want to get into here? Because I know Mike has some ghost stories and some other shit. Like, I think we pretty much covered
that's the business end.
We got the business stuff going. So this is the halfway point, the intermission as we transition into the fucking weirdness.
To any of my beautiful Black Hole Guitars supporters and clients, if you're not a fucking weirdo, I mean, you know, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
So if you're not about some of my weirdo shit, I mean, thanks for listening. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you soon. Much love.
Yeah.
So Mike's got some great like ghost story shit. Like, especially like like the block that like you grew up in, like there's like a radius that's like, he's got a hot zone of bullshit that like where his family's house was.
Yeah.
So he gets into that. That's great.
Yeah.
And then like, I'd love to hear some like out cold, like tour stories.
Okay. Yeah. Well, why don't we take
Let's
the
go with
out
out
cold
cold
stuff? Yeah, because that's a good transition. Like,
cool.
And that actually,
and then if you can mesh the two, because I mean, I don't know, like, yeah,
well, it's all connected, man.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all connected.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, and even like out cold, like Mark was like a massive guitar collector. Like he had some of Johnny Ramone's. You know, he had one of Johnny's guitars.
Really?
He had like one of CJ's basses. Like he was
Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
He was a massive collector. So like all these guitars I had pined over, like growing up, like these Moserites, which you could not find.
Yeah.
He had a grip of them. Like he was probably one of the biggest collectors in America for those things.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like, oh my God, I'm playing like a 64 Ventures 2 model. Oh my God, this is like, how good does it get? Like, and then the next time it's like, oh, you want to play CJ's prototype bass? And it's like, yeah, I played that on some Out Cold records. Right.
Okay,
like,
cool.
So, you know, it's a shame he passed when he did, because he passed right before I went to guitar school. And I just know, you know, I have a big picture of him hanging up over the workbench. Like,
Cool.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's one of those things that,
Yeah,
you know, that was my brother, you know?
Yeah.
So he would have, you know, I like to think that he's in the workshop looking over my shoulder. He's like, Johnny wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he's also, you know, in a mentor in a way. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot of things.
Yeah. Or even just mentor, even in just sparking the interest in what you're doing.
Indeed. But yeah, I guess like that, like, so Last in Line, like we played a lot. We put out some records. John from Out Cold put out our LP on Acme. They had played UMass. We were up in Amherst walking around like record shopping one day, and we saw a flyer and it was like Out Cold at UMass. And like we ripped the flyer off the wall and like walked to the payphone and like called the number, and we're like, dude, we got a band, you got to let us play. And the guys were like, yeah, all right. So we went, and because we're like, at that point, Out Cold was like this mythical thing, you know, like they'd been around forever. Like we had the records, and it was like, how the fuck is this a localish band? Like we never hear about them. They never play. So it was like, this was like some like mysterious, like shit. And we hit it off. You know what I mean?
Which was a beauty of punk and hardcore in like the 80s and early 90s. That there was still mystery attached to it, but that's a whole other thing. But so you guys get on, you guys just call and get your way on the gig.
Yep. We get on the gig, and comes, you know, we do the show, play the show, and we get talking with those guys. And next thing we know, John wants to put out our LP. So he did that. And that was the beginning of our relationship with those guys. Really, we started booking Out Cold a lot in Western Mass, like in Westfield and places where we were doing gigs. And it was just like, that was the fucking band, man. They were the best. That was my favorite fucking band for so long, right? So over the years, we talked more, we worked on stuff. Our our guitar player from Last in Line ended up joining. So he was playing with them for a little while. And then oddly enough, I was driving to Prowl practice one morning. It was like a rainy, like weekend morning. Like we'd practice at the crack of dawn on Sundays. Like 9 times out of 10, I was like fucking still drunk from the night before in the closet hiding from practicing. You know what I mean? Like shot, you know? Yeah. So like I'm driving there and I had like some shitty Nokia phone. So this is like 2003, right? And I get a phone call. I'm like, oh, who's this? Pick it up. And it was Mark. And he's like, hey, we got this like Scandinavian tour coming up. Like, you know, Deuce thinks you should do it. Like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, cool. Get the set list from him. And, you know, if you need any CDs or anything, hit up John and, you know, we'll get going. We're going to practice whenever. So we went and dude, it was like, this is like some mythological shit to me. This is like one of my favorite fucking bands. Like, dude, to this day, like Defect off the first album is like, fucking blows me away. So it's like, holy shit, we're doing it. Like we're fucking jamming with these guys. Holy shit. You know? So we go to Mark's house and he had this like shed barn type thing where they jammed. It was like winter. He had this like propane heater that looked like the fucking Batmobile. Like,
like a big bullet heater or something.
Yeah, it would get all hot, then it would get all cold.
Yeah.
And it was like, we walked in, I just, like I was saying earlier, I just play Step Down a billion times in my room and get it perfect. Right. So I got the out cold shit and I was on it. So I learned like what they told me to learn. And we went in there and we started playing. It's like, okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're in. And like the second I started playing bass with John Evesy's drumming, it was like a fucking religious moment. Like that man is one of the baddest dudes on the drum set ever to fucking walk. And being of like, you know, having trained bass, like, you know, lessons and stuff, like knowing it's about playing with the kick and the snare more than the guitar, right?
Yeah.
It was that second, I was 8 billion times better at playing the bass guitar. And it was just like, I'd never felt anything like that musically. Like Last in Line was a tight band, but it was like different. Like John and Mark were just like geniuses. So being in there playing that, like it went well and they're like, all right, yeah, let's do the tour. Let's get on it. And me and Mike were driving out from Westfield to Drake it like twice a week, getting ready for this tour. I was going on tour with the Prowl before that, like that summer. And it was just like, I want to say we had almost 80 songs to learn for this tour.
Damn, yeah.
And it was it was Ramon style. Like, hi, we're out cold. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we play like 7 or 8 songs, stop, check the tuning, 1, 2, 3, 4, back into it.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And being a fan of the band, it's like, I can't fuck up because when I see a band and it's not an original member, I'm like, you better not fuck up. You know? So it's like, I don't want to let the people that care about the band as much as me down ever.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So we did the tour, like we started in Iceland. I'd never been out of the country before other than like Canada maybe, right?
Yeah.
We do Iceland, mind blowing. Then we do like a week in Sweden, go down into the Netherlands, week in Finland. And then right before the tour got going, like maybe a couple months before, like Russia was tagged on to the end. So at the end of it, and this is like the shit right here, right? So this is 2004. The whole experience being in like Scandinavia, and I mean, I love Swedish rock, like, you know, the fucking Helicopters, like one of my favorites, and like Swedish punk. It's, man, like those guys nail it, right? So being over there, I was just blown away checking it, like, holy shit, this is where we're at. You know, like we're seeing all these like good bands and playing with good bands, and people know Out Cold, so like people are into it. This is dope. So it's time to go to Russia, right? We were with this band Hero Dishonest in Finland. We'd been with them the whole time. After the last gig, we crash in Helsinki. They bring us to the bus station, and this like hunk of shit, like 60s looking Greyhound bus like rolls up, and they're like, all right, time to go to St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's boogie. And it was just me, Mark, John, and Mike, the 4 of us. No tour manager, anything like that. We left a lot of our baggage with the Finnish guys because we had to go back to Helsinki at the end. So like, this is like some fucking crazy shit thinking about it now, you know? We each have our guitar cases. John has like a snare drum or something, and we got a backpack. So we get on this bus. We're not sitting next to each other. We're spread out over the bus, and it's just all like Russian folks, you know, or Finnish folks going to Russia, right? And it was like, it had to have been like an 8 or 9, 10-hour drive.
Sure, yeah.
Summertime, August, you know, and like we're driving through like the country. It was unreal. Like you'd see people on the side of the road, you'd see travelers and like all this stuff. It was unreal. And we're stopping at these shitty like truck stops, like every fucking 30 minutes. And it's like an Ocean State job lot with a gas station attached to it and like a building 451 in the basement or something like that. We're like, man, like we're leaving one of them And we're all freaking out. We're like, where's Deuce at? Like, where the fuck did Mike go? He's not on the bus. And nobody's, you know, like, we had nobody to tell. And this lady realized one of us was missing and we were frantic. We see Mike running across the parking lot, like booking towards the bus, like gets on. It's like, dude, that could have got bad.
He's
Imagine
off being stuck out there.
He's off to the fucking gulag before you know it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So we get to St. Petersburg, show up, promoter guy's not there. We're just sitting on the street outside the bus station after this journey with our guitars, like fucked up looking Americans. Like, who are these dudes?
Yeah,
you know? This dude rolls up out the cold. Yep, let's go. And we like boogie like 2 miles across town. Now this dude had calf muscles like the size of like a fucking baby cow, man. Like this dude was hauling ass and we're trying to keep up with the dude. They get us to the show. We go downstairs. The show's already full. There's like a ska band playing or something. They throw us in the dressing room. All right, here's food. And it was like this like bowl of like meat, stewy
Whatever,
stuff.
yeah.
And they brought us some beers and we're sitting down and we like take some bites. We're like, all right, time to go. So we go up and we had to like sound check in front of a full crowd that had just watched a gig, right? So we get up and we sound check and we played like a Black Flag song and a Ramones song or something like that. Then we're like, okay, we like take a break for a minute. Then we come out and it's like, let's go. And it was the craziest fucking show I've ever played. Like these dudes were all going bananas. They were killing each other. Fortunately, somebody filmed it and it's available. John released it on Acme. It's called Out Cold Seeing Through Communist Eyes or something to that effect. And I mean, it's raw. It's like, you know, old school camcorder type shit.
Yeah.
And man, these guys are like wall of death in each other.
Yeah.
Like there's like dudes in suits stage diving and like it's probably one of the hottest shows we ever played. Like by the end of the set in the video, you see Johnny's like behind his drum set collapsed, like dying.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the adventures through Russia was just this clusterfuck of like, next morning, this dude puts us on another shitty Greyhound and we go to some town, Pskov, which is like between St. Petersburg and Moscow, I guess, more of a rural town. Do the gig there. We're supposed to take a train overnight to Moscow, but that never happened. So we get put on this like night train thing that was like a cattle cart with like shitty bunks built on it with like gym mats. And when we got our visas, it's like, do not go on the night train. And we're like, well, we're going on the night train. Fuck this machine, right?
But why does it say don't go on the night train? Because it's
like thieves and, I mean, basically we got this thing from the consulate and it's like, don't do this. Don't do this.
And you guys are doing everything it says not to do.
If this happens, if you lose your passport, you're basically shit out of luck. Like, is all right, well, whatever. And so we get thrown on this night train and it was the funniest shit because like everybody's sleeping. No, we're not near each other at all, right? And I'm laying there on this like high school wrestling mat on like a shelf. Like I have this like hard shell like base case on top of me. I'm like hugging on to.
Yeah.
And I just start fucking cackling. I'm cracking up. Like, dude, we're going to Siberia, man. We got like 12 years hard labor coming up or something, right?
Yeah.
And I hear like Mark's laugh, like in a corner somewhere. Then you hear like, shut the fuck up, right? And like they're yelling at us. And me, Mark, Mike, and John are fucking cracking up. Dudes are yelling at us. We all pass out. So we had to go back to St. Petersburg on this instead of to Moscow. We get to St. Petersburg. Our promoter's supposed to meet us there and get us on a train to Moscow, like a bullet train. He's nowhere to be found. So we call him. Number doesn't work. So like for 3 hours, we're sitting in St. Petersburg train station trying to get a hold of this dude. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And some guy comes up to us and he sees we're kind of like, we're Americans and we're weird and we're confused. So he's like, oh, I can kind of speak English. I'll help you guys. So this guy tells us, he's like, oh yeah, last week they changed the area code. They added a number or something like that. So we'd been calling the right number, just sans one number. We add that in, get a hold of the guy. And he's like, oh, I can meet you in like an hour. And we're like, all right. So he shows up and he's like, let's boogie. And we're like running across fucking St. Petersburg again.
Once again, yeah.
Gets us on this bullet train straight to Moscow. Like train pulls up and it's like the Kremlin is right in front of us. Like we're there, right? Like it rolls in. These dudes come on thing, out cold. We're like, yep. They're like, come with us. We get up and they have these like little like crepe, like pancake things for us to eat. Throw us in a cab. And we played on a boat that drove up and down the river that goes through Moscow that night.
Yeah.
Next day, we had mostly an off day. Then we had a show at this big rock club in Moscow. Then we had to get on a train overnight to Helsinki to fly home the next day. So it was like a gnarly, 48 hours or so. We check out the sites. We're like tripping out on everything. And then we do the show and it's like crazy. Like, dude, the photos from it are wild. It's like this Man-O-War looking like backdrop. It's like this beefcake metal dude with a lightning bolt guitar. Like, it's like war shit, right?
Yeah.
And the place is just filled with like skinheads and like punks. Like, it was like rad to see the subculture in another country. Like that like big.
Yeah.
Right.
Or in a country more remote. Like, you expect to see it in England or Germany
and
or
their
something.
flavor, their flavor on it. What's the Eastern Bloc skinhead like? Like, it's so cool.
Probably a little rough and tumble. And
Those boys were having fun. For sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to Moskowskins or whoever they were.
Yeah.
Getting your head sawed off.
Yeah.
Hunting knife in the woods.
but it was like we get off that stage, we finish the gig, get off the stage, like drink a beer, and we get thrown in cabs to the train station. And this was like a real train. It was like we had a cabin.
Yeah.
So we get in there and like we're like, all right, we had all these like Russian money and we weren't supposed to bring it out of the country and we didn't get to cash it in. So we just went to the restaurant cart. And it was awesome. We were just like drinking vodka.
Spending all the money.
Spending all the money. And Mark was telling us all these like kick-ass stories about when he was playing with Gigi Allen and all this stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it was just like, dude, what is life right now? I'm playing in my favorite band. I just got done with this crazy adventure through Russia. Like, all right, dude, like, I guess I'm doing something right. You know? We get fucking out of our minds then, right? I wake up. Somebody like pushed me. I'm like, fuck you. I'm on the top bunk, right? Sleeping asshole naked. Got so shit-faced the night before. Fuck you. And I hear Mark and he's like, Mikey, stop fucking around. And I like look over the corner and it's like this big like border like woman like poking me with a fucking gun. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I get off and I'm like, throwing underwear on. I'm like, trying to find my passport. And they're like, okay, you guys can go or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was just that boogie. And from then on in, I got back and they're like, okay, like, if you want to be in the band, you're in the band. And then it just turned into this thing where like Mark and John were always writing music. They were always like, we got a new riff. We got a new song. Here's a demo. Learn this. Like, we've been playing this too much. Learn these songs. It was super fun because it was just always changing.
But they were into it. It wasn't like they fell into a routine of a band that's been around for a long time. They were still keeping it fresh and paying respect to it, like giving it the respect it needed.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a lifer, it was Mark Sheehan. That man, like his body of work, like speaks for itself as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. Yeah.
So the weird thing with the band was like, we got back and they had never really played outside of New England too much, except going to like Europe or Japan. That. So like we started doing some like more shows out of the area, a little like we played Brooklyn, like with Clock Cleaner one weekend at Europa. And then we played some festival down in Richmond, which turned out to be our last show. So that whole time playing with those dudes was just unreal. It was like, I ended up playing on a bunch of records and doing a bunch of shows. And I mean, I meet people throughout my life that I'm like, I've known you for like 7 or 8 lifetimes. Like you meet somebody and you're so on the same page that it is just like creepy. I mean, I was living with my folks at the time. Mark would call my house for me and like, I hear the phone ring like 2 hours later. My mom would be like, oh, Mark's on the phone with you. And they were just like talking shit on the phone for 2 hours. That was the kind of guy he was, you know?
Sure.
So that shit just like, and then all the we were, it was all learning and like, we're recording. They go to a studio, track his guitar and the drums. Then me and Mike would come up and record with Mark in his like living room, it's like all that fun stuff. It's like, I get done killing myself on a take, some crazy fast song that I could barely play. Right. And he'd be like, that's really good. But here's the thing. I think it would sound better with CJ's bass. So you got to do it again. And he'd pull out some like crazy Ramones bass. Right. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Or like, we're over there practicing before a Cambridge Elk show one day. And we're like watching a Thin Lizzy live in like Sydney DVD. Right. And Mark wasn't home, or he was home. Then he's like, oh, I got to go meet my friend at the highway. Right. We're sitting there and he comes in with his buddy and we hear a guy, oh, Thin Lizzy live. We turn around, it's fucking Des Cadena from Black Flag. We're like, what the fuck? And it's like Des is out at the gig, right?
Yeah.
Like Arturo that did all the Ramones like artwork. He shows up at the house one time and hangs out. So it was just like this crazy, like those guys were so old school and so real. Their group of friends was like this, legendary shit. And like to us, it was like Loud Cold were like the legends. So the whole thing with being in that band was like paying respect to them and doing them right and doing, I like to think we did an okay job by them because they kept us around.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. He didn't need to. So.
But it was one of those things. So like, put out records, like, so posthumously we released 2 albums like after Mark passed, right? And we recorded those while he was still alive. We had tracked them they went into a studio with Daniel Ray, who did like Blondie and Ramones and all kinds of fucking. I mean, the guy's a monster record producer, right? So they go to Woolly Mammoth in Boston and do like drum tracking, guitar tracking, and all this. And we're still recording at Mark's house on his like Boss like digital like 16 track or whatever. And we put out like, I think we put out like a For the Worst split and like a Bill Bondsman split. And we did like an EP ourselves there. But we had this batch of 2 LPs, 28 songs worth of material just sitting there that one of the albums Mike had done all the leads on and I had done bass on and all this stuff. And then everything that happened with Mark and the passing and everything that happened. And eventually John got the stuff back and they decided that they were going to release the records and they were going to have Kevin, the original singer, sing. So it was like, all right, one day Mark's recording machine shows up at my house and it was like, holy shit, I remember tracking bass in the bathroom, like on this thing. What am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So it was cool. We like, cause there was like 2 songs that he was going to play bass on. He didn't finish. So I had to like figure those out. And they were like the hard, fast ones. Like, you know, so we do all that shit that gets released and that like, you know, I guess like went all right. And then John's like, all right, well, we're going to finish up the next one. And that one was the last one that came out. And it was like, it was strange, like getting that all together and it's out and it's like really paying respect to like that man's legacy as a musician and a songwriter, you know? So it's kind of funny. I'm always curious when people are like, oh yeah, you were now cold. Like, you know, cause you never know, like people are like, fuck you. You were in the band, like at this era, all their best shit was before that.
Yeah.
And
That gets ridiculous.
But that's how I get with some bands. So I appreciate it. It's like, dude, if somebody that's like a hardcore fan, like comes up to me and they're like, dude, I have an Out Cold tattoo. Check it out. It's like the coolest thing, you know, to me. Like I'd be in Japan with Killswitch and I meet dudes at record stores that were Out Cold fans. Yeah. And it was like, dude, that's awesome. Cause like that means our dude is still with us. Right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was like the trip with that band. It was just this mysterious band of these like punk rock geniuses. And like, I'll never forget, Mark told me, he's like, the songs are just 60s pop songs played really fucking fast. And that like changed my view on songwriting. I'd always been into like 60s shit and country and blues and that. But when he told me that, it kind of put things together. It's like,
put it in perspective for you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, You're Gonna Miss Me by the Elevators. I mean, that's a fucking punk rock song, right? Like The Witch by the Sonics. That's a punk rock song. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. You had some fuzzy guitars and that's a fucking punk song. You know, it's not different than the Ramones in a lot of ways.
Lyrically a litlittle different, but but the music, for sure.
Right. So it was like weird, like those learning, like picking up things like that along the way.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm just going through some of those songs in my head and speeding them up, like as we're talking.
Right.
Adding some brown tone distortion to them.
Yeah. Dude, think about like Satisfaction by the Stones with a blast beat and then a mosh part.
Yeah. There's a lot like that, you know. You know, it's even like it's like a 90s hardcore song. What? Aha, Take On Me.
Yeah, 100%.
It's got the mosh pod in it and everything, like the breakdown. Like, sorry, I always thought I never could believe that no band had ever covered that song and made it like a hardcore song.
Yeah, right.
It's got a breakdown right in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it slows down to like halftime and stuff. Like,
you know something though? It's probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hear that and I'd be like, oh man.
I'm sure some like metalcore bands have done it.
It would only be funny if like Sheer Terror or some fucking like, you know, like real like.
Well, they crushed Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah, they never had to do another cover after that.
No.
Like, Sheer Terror, like that's one of those bands that like when they've done covers in the past. I mean, even like currently, it's just like they always have kind of like their take on.
They make a Sheer Terror song out of it,
dude. Even the Johnny Cash one.
Yeah.
The that old 97s cover that they did on that 7-inch, like and it's like wow, it's like man, they like.
But that's how you're supposed to do it. Like you don't do a cover and try and make it sound like the band that did it. You got to do it your version. Yeah.
Band,
yeah, you got to do right by.
Their take on that old 97s cover, it's like man, like that really kind of sounds like a Sheer Terror song. Like if you didn't read like the. Like, you know, like if you didn't know that was a cover, like, you'd be like, oh, here's an interesting song they just did. Like, that's that, you know, I'll go back to the peanut gallery.
All right. But yeah, so, and I know Joe was very interested in hearing about the ghostly neighborhood that you grew up in.
Yeah.
What's the story with that?
Hold on, I might need to. I got to get prepared for this one.
All right, so I think he's going to tap Joe. Tap Joe in for a second.
I'm going to tap my tag team partner for like a moment, and
I think I'm going to start. I'm going to start doing. I'm going to be the first guy to do tag team podcast.
Well, this is good. I got a tiny bladder. Yeah. I'm a little dude, so
yeah. Tag Joe in so you can go.
Tell them what you want to hear.
Smoke some weed and take a leak.
So he's got a story about I think it was right before like a Prowl tour, and he's like, I'm not gonna do it justice, but hopefully he takes a quick tinkle, and he's like stuffing records like in like, you know, preparing for the tour, like, you know, folding records, something like that, and like I guess at the time.
So for people that don't know, when a lot of times punk rock bands would release 7 inches or albums, and they would have to, they come in components. You get the vinyls in one thing and the covers in another, and someone has to stuff them, and then people even shrink wrap them on their own. But yeah.
So he's like folding records or stuffing records,
putting inserts in records,
and
or doing something.
And as far as I remember him telling me, like he like lived kind of like in like an attic room of like this old like band house, whatever, and like I guess like the door swings open, and like it's in my imagination it's like a crawl space door, and like this like 7-foot like shadow man like walks in like with like giant beard. All right, you're here. Just tell the fucking story. You know what, you know what I want to hear. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like straight up like terrifying.
Yeah.
You know.
To quote fucking Ice-T, it's real fucked up.
All right. All right. Yeah. Fuck him out. All right.
It's a shame you don't blaze, Joe.
Yeah, I know. You know, like, hey, trust me, I would be right there if I could.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
am just on a my whole diet today consists of Tito's and different mixing agents.
I had a couple rags this morning.
Oh,
That worked. Coffee rags, some MCT oil, the
There you go.
meathead diet.
yeah. Hey, you know, and the thing
On
is, if you just slam a couple, if you
Are these fucking blowing you out? By the way, I'm smoking these shitty cigars.
no, I don't even smell it over here. It's no problem.
All right, cool.
Just can you make me another Tito's and Gatorade, even Steven, if you will?
Well, since bars are closed and I'm a fucking bar fly, shout out to Hookies at the Nook in Westfield.
There
The
you
fucking
go.
finest oysters and cocktails in Massachusetts,
Little ice,
baby.
half and half.
Whatever. As you would make it for yourself. A little bit of ice, and then as you would make it for yourself. But yeah, so fucking, you know, a lot of what I like to do with this podcast is talk about, you know, I don't know what I fell into. There's 3 kind of areas we cover a lot: motorcycles, music, and fucking weird shit. So,
Well, I'm a weirdo, so let's go.
Yeah. So Joe is very enamored with that one story, with that story about you stuffing records or something and getting records ready for a tour.
Yeah.
So he started to kind of paraphrase it, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth, if you will. So
All right. So
but
just
give a little context.
Yeah.
You just give a little context and then lead into it.
So I used to tell the story one way. And then when I was at Luthier school, they didn't have student housing at the moment. They had a barn for a while. But they were like changing locations. So a guy that had worked at the school that was in some like regional rap rock band, he put 2 of us
You
up.
say rap rock?
Yeah.
All right. I was just making sure.
Yeah. He put 2 of us up. They put 2 of the students up at his house, right? But he was on tour all the time. So he'd come in on the weekends and chat. So
Thank you, buddy.
after I told the story to this guy, I had to change the way I tell it because I used to tell it like a horror story. And now it's just a what the fuck story. So a little bit.
Is that a downgrade or an upgrade? I don't.
It speaks to what it is.
Okay.
So just a little background, like I've been having like paranormal experiences my entire life. Like I was like 6 or 7 and I saw like an apparition in the doorway of my childhood bedroom. I always had like weird cold feelings about things and stuff like that. Or like it would feel like something bad was going to happen, or it felt like somebody was going to watch me, things out of the corner of your eye, all that kind of stuff. Right. So this weird stuff happened on and off.
When you say weird cold feelings, like the room physically getting cold, that type of stuff, like the stuff you hear about.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the, and also too, I've been fascinated with this. So I saw that early on and it was like, what the fuck is that? And at Christmas Eve, it would be like the older people talking about family ghost stories, and we have some good family ghost stories. And the more I've learned about it, like the way I am with that stuff, it kind of makes sense because somebody was clearly fucking around with some shit at some point in the family tree.
Yeah.
So we were, I was basically living in this punk rock house with like my buddy and his girlfriend. My room was like a closet in the living room that basically went behind the television, like to the right. There was like this little like inlet.
This is the Lutheran.
No.
Oh,
So
all right.
this is like, okay.
Before
so,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
So this
okay.
is like when this is like getting ready for tour. This is when this ghost story goes down, right? So I'm living in this like closet that was like the size of a twin mattress on the floor, and a small space at the foot of it, and then a bookcase and a little crawl space behind my head, and that was it, right? And so I was working at Costco at the time. Everybody was working these bullshit jobs because we were like 20, 21.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready to go on tour, and like we're like, yeah, let's have a holiday party. Costco gave me a turkey for Christmas, right? Somebody else got like a ham, so let's do it. My boy I was telling you about with the moonshine hookup, he's like, yeah, I got the moonshine. All that.
Everyone pulls together, brings,
Yeah. So we have this party, and next day, like the van's picking me up at like 6 a.m. or so, right? So we have the party. I wasn't really drinking. At that point, I was a bad drunk in my 20s. Apologies to a lot of fucking people. You know who you are, I'm sure. This was before I like really started smoking weed or even drinking that much. So I had like a beer that night because I was like, I got to stuff 7 inches. I got to pack. I got to like get all this shit ready to go. Party's ending. People are going bananas. Dudes are passing out. Dudes are puking. People are fucking in the shower. Like the typical bullshit that happens when you're that age, right? Everybody's drinking this moonshine, just getting nutty. And one by one, everybody drops or takes off or whatever. Now my friend and his girl were staying in the living room. So he was asked out. He was fucking done for. So she's staying up with me because she's drunk and she's like not ready to go to bed. So she's stuffing 7 inches and, helping fold things, and, we're getting going. She taps out. I do a little more work and I go to bed. So I go into my little closet, and in the closet, there was a small like window, like to the side, like maybe about like if I was laying on the mattress, like where my waist would be. It was just a small little window. I didn't have a shade on it, and there was a factory like across from our side street. So it was always bright light coming in. So the room always had like a lit glow to it. And I'd leave the door open so heat could get in there because there's no heat in a fucking closet with a window in it. And I like finally lay down, and I'm getting ready to go down, and I'm just kind of thinking like, all right, we're going on tour. Like this is going to be rad. And all of a sudden, this fucking dude like ducks in. He was so tall, he ducks in under the doorway, and he points directly at me, and he like beckons me with his finger, like come with, right? And now this guy, he was in a white suit. It was like old timey, but not like, you couldn't tell if it was like Victorian or like Revolution era or anything like that, but it was old, right? White suit, black tie. He had like a Fu Manchu mustache, like proper, like hanging down. Like,
yeah.
White hat with like a black like ribbon around it, like a pilgrim type thing. Not quite an Abe Lincoln stovepipe hat. Not quite a top hat. Somewhere, not a Western. Somewhere in that ballpark, but not anyone. But I mean, he was real. Like he looked like you look like in front of me, like black fucking eyes and this like grin, and I was just like freaked out, like oh my god, like I'm never sleeping again. Like I was like almost paralyzed, and then he was gone. I passed out and I had the most like peaceful night of sleep in my life. Got up the next morning, went on tour, didn't even think about it. Like I'm a nut for ghost stories, never came up on that tour, right? I get home from the tour and it's like, I remembered nobody's home. It's dark. I'm like, fuck me. Like what's going on with this, right? So I never knew what to make of it, right? So throughout the years, there'd been more experiences, and I'd always talk about it with like anybody that would fucking listen. I've punished so many people with this story, trying to figure it out. And, like Puerto Rican girls that I worked with told me it was one thing, Italian people told me it was one. All these like different cultures had this idea of what this entity was, or this apparition, or whatever it was. And I always told it, I think I told it fairly like straightforward, like not a scary story. I used to tell it like fucking horror script, you know what I mean? Because it was that terrifying to me,
but
right?
To me, anything that's abnormal sized like that, like a dude that's, whether it's like wicked small or wicked tall, that makes it way more worse. Like if it was just an average sized apparition dude that walked in and be like, all right, whatever. But the fact that it's like 7 feet tall, or whether it's 2 feet or 7 feet, is kind of equally as terrifying to me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a bizarre, abnormal size. It's not right.
Exactly. And now the thing with that entity was, so I had seen the apparition when I was a kid, right? And when I saw that apparition, it was in the doorway, and I thought it was my mom at first checking on us, like in a bathrobe, right? But as I woke up, it was just kind of fuzzy, and it was like a human figure, and it almost had like the halo behind its head, like Catholic iconography like does. It's not like, the circle over a head, it's like behind it, right?
Yeah.
It kind of had that look to it. Like you could, even though it was like transparent, you could see the definition in certain things of it that gave it more of a form. This was the opposite. This was like 4K HD, like as real as it fucking gets. Like there was a guy in my fucking room.
Yeah.
So I tell people about it, and it's like, oh, that's a demon. Oh, that's Satan. Oh, that's this. That's bad luck. That's good luck. That's all these things.
All over the place. Yeah.
So I'm at Luthier school, and it's my girlfriend had flown down to drive back with me, and it was the night before we left. I had to go to the school the next morning and pick up my guitars, and then we were out of there, right? And the rap rock guy that we were staying with, like we got telling ghost stories. And this guy's ghost stories would curl your fucking toenails. Like his family came from India. They moved into this apartment. He was a lonely kid with no friends. He noticed the apartment across from them. The door was ajar. Nobody lived there. So he'd go hang out in there all summer. It was like the clubhouse, right? And then more family moved from India and moved in there. And I mean, these people were under demonic attack. Like they were being bitten, they were being scratched, they were being thrown from beds, all that type of stuff. I mean, it is some
all
of
the stuff you see on like,
it is
for that type of stuff.
His story is probably one of the most intense experiences I've heard about as far as between reading like all the Warrens casework. I mean, I'm pretty down the wormhole on this shit, right?
Okay.
And this guy's story was like, I mean, it was blood curdling. It was fucking wild. Even like what I said sounds like scary, but it does no justice, right? So I'm telling this, he tells that shit, and I'm like, dude, wait till you hear what I got, man. This is like fucking bananas, right? I start telling the story, and the whole time he's smiling at me, and he's like looking at me. He's like, oh, he has this look on his face like, oh my God, right? And I get done telling it, and he tells me, he's like, you can never tell that as like a scary story again. You're blessed. Like when we were kids, like we prayed for that. You should have got up and went and prayed with him. That's like, so he starts telling me about his religion, which from where they were was this mix of like Islam and Hinduism. And it was very mystical wherever they were. They're part of India where they were from. So he basically explained to me it's like a jinn or like a guardian angel type thing. And from that, I had to look at it differently. It was like, wow, interesting. Every other culture that has told me about what I've seen has been this, right? So for years, I had this like good feeling about it. Like, wow, I was lucky to experience that. And I would continue to have, like, even on tour, like we'd go into a club, and like my buddy Josh, that was our production manager, he grew up in a haunted house. I guess I'm getting away from my neighborhood that I grew up being like that, but we'll get there.
Any of this is great to me. So go ahead.
So we get into a club in the morning and be like, dude, I don't know, spidey senses are tingling, man. Like, what do you think? I don't know. Or yeah, same. So we get talking with the stagehands. Oh yeah, go talk to Brenda, the bartender. Like a ghost grabbed her ass the other night. It was just, and we get the story about the club or whatever, which is common, haunted theaters,
Yeah.
So all this weird stuff kept happening. A few very strange paranormal events happened, like on tour, that were like, there was like a wine bottle smashed on the bus one night while it wasn't moving. And like one dude was in the bathroom, like I saw it come off the counter type shit, Weird. Sometimes you get a bus and it feels haunted. Everybody starts having these like crazy nightmares that are like similar and like weird things like that. I mean, people live somewhere, there's going to leave a stain to some degree.
Sure.
So weird stuff kept continuing. I kept traveling and telling people this story. And then it got back to like, oh, it's the devil, it's bad luck, you're cursed, this. Eventually a group of us went down to Lorraine Warren. Now, anybody not familiar with Lorraine Warren, the film The Conjuring is based on her and her husband Ed's paranormal work. They investigated the Amityville house and things like that. I mean, he was one of like 4 or 5 people ordained by the Catholic Church to perform exorcisms at that point. Powerful people. I'd been reading their cases since I was a kid. There was a case that they did about a guy that was possessed. There's doppelganger stuff involved with it, who's from Fall River. And I can't remember the title of the book. It's something like Season of Fear or Season of Pain or something like that, or Harvest
They
of
were the
Pain.
custodians of the Annabelle.
Right.
Didn't that go missing or something?
It was a hoax.
Oh, it was a hoax?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was a hoax.
That's recently, right?
Somebody sent me. They're like, oh, like Annabelle got like broke out, and I was like, oh fuck. Like I started like reading up on it immediately.
Yeah,
like, fuck
and then it was
that.
a hoax. All right, yeah. I just saw like one headline about it. I didn't get into it any deeper.
So we went. So Lorraine and Ed, while he was alive, they would do these seminars. And like initially you'd go to like, you know, some like restaurant and they'd like show you videos and talk about their experiences, go over casework with you, bring out Annabelle and some different artifacts. Well, the Annabelle doll, let's not refer to her as Annabelle and give her power, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we go to one of these things. We took like 6 or 7 months to actually get tickets because they sell out.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So a group of us go down. It was guys I toured with. And we're there. Ed had passed. We get there. Their nephew, I believe his name was like Tony Spiro, something to that effect. He was helping out with it and kind of running the show. And he also runs a paranormal investigation group like down in Connecticut and all that stuff. He helps out. So we get there and they're like, Lorraine's sick. She might not come out. So she comes out. She decides to come out and she's like talking to us. They show us videos of exorcisms Ed performed and all this stuff. And this is in their living room.
Yeah.
Right. So we wrap up this and
The venue that you're at is their
is
living
their
room?
house. So
Okay,
back
all
in the
right. I
day,
didn't know
they
if you-
so it had gotten smaller over the years as they had declined in health or whatever.
Sure. And they didn't want to travel as much or whatever.
Yeah. So there's like 20 to 30 people in her living room and she's talking about the Amityville case and she's talking about all these different paranormal cases, the Conjuring case, all these things, Annabelle. They go very, very deep into the Annabelle doll, right? So I'd been reading this stuff since I was like 15, 16 years old. So my brains were just fucking blown out.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing ends and you get to go into the basement, into their museum. So when they would do their investigations, anything that they deemed to be like a cursed or root of a problem, or anything like that, they would bring it to their museum because essentially they believed that they were the people that knew how to deal with it best. So like the Annabelle doll, for instance, is in this like little glass house and it's blessed daily by like priests and practitioners of all faiths, you know, rabbis, Buddhist monks and all these different types of things. Right. And you go in there and it's like, do not touch anything. Right. And I didn't even want to fucking look at anything in that place, man. And I see these people who, you know, watch something on the Travel Channel about ghosts and it's around Halloween. So they go to get creeped out and they're like poking at shit. And I'm like aghast, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, you don't look in that mirror. Why are you looking in the witch mirror? Don't fucking look in that thing.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like,
And even if it's not, just like be better to be smart about it than not. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I've seen too much not to take like precaution.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Even like my friend asked me, he's like, hey, Mikey, take a photo of me with the Annabelle doll. And I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't even like looking at for longer than a second. Right.
Yeah.
So we went and did the, you know, after that you go to like this graveyard.
Did you feel when you were down there, did you get any like,
It was heavy.
yeah.
It was heavy for sure. It wasn't like cold feelings and like hair standing on end, but it felt heavy.
Yeah.
And I mean, just knowing the backstory on artifacts I've been reading about, I was like, holy shit.
You know what's weird about but not before we get going, the Amityville house, like this is like, you know, last year, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of shows in Amityville.
Yeah.
So we've gone over there and like me and Dan and stuff, and you go to the Amityville house, it's still up. It still looks the same.
The only thing they did was they just changed the windows of I believe they changed the address.
I thought they rotated the house or something like
They did
that.
something, but here's the weird thing about it is like when you watch the movie, it looks kind of like it's an isolated house. When you go to it in real life, it's like just a regular house on a regular street in between two other houses. Like, you know what I mean? It's not
Right.
like down, you know, like separated from anything. It's like weird. It's like, yo, this is just like a regular neighborhood. Like, you know, and it's like sandwiched in between two other houses, like 10 feet in between two other houses. Like, so it's really weird when you look at it and it's like, and you almost feel bad because you know these poor motherfuckers are in there just like some more assholes outside, you know, fucking taking pictures or some shit, you know what I mean, or whatever, you know.
Right.
But it's weird to think that all that shit, like whatever it was, whether it was just someone being fucking psychotic or if there was other things at work, you know, it's not in a spooky weird location. It's just like could be, you know, 1223 Main Street, like, you know what I mean? It just happened to be that house, you know. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and that's the nature of that stuff. Any of this shit, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, who knows?
Yeah, sure.
You know, and a
sure,
lot of
man.
it. So speaking of that, like, so Joe had mentioned you want to hear about like the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah.
So like my folks' house, like, you know,
Before we get in, now are you going to listen to this podcast like too on Monday? Yeah. No, it's just
better.
yeah. The producer Joe, like, it's just funny because it's not. Now you're going to listen to it, but it's not going to be. I feel like it's not going to be the same because you've like seen the interaction.
It's fine. I can watch the same goddamn movie.
Okay.
And over
All
again.
right.
I can
Yeah.
I listen to the same 10 records.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
You know?
I did the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking-
So like the neighborhood, like that shit happened with my house, right? Then you just get older and you talk to people about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you find out, like, so
But wait, did we get to what happened at the Lutheran place?
yeah, that was when the guy was saying like you can't tell that story that way.
Okay, but something else didn't happen at the
No,
Lutheran.
no, I had no experience.
Okay.
Though, however, while I was at Luthier school, Killswitch played the Tabernacle in Atlanta, and Josh, he was like, "Oh, come hang out." And I went out, and that was the first time I really hung out with like some of the dudes, and we were like chatting about like what was going on and all that, and it was like, "Oh, that's cool." I got like hammered with my buddies from school, and like it was a good night. So I get on the road with those guys, and we end up doing the Tabernacle, and I was tripping. It was my first time back there since I'd been in school, and I was like walking around the neighborhood all day. I was like, this is some like full circle shit. Like here I am on like this cool tour and this and that. Now what's weird is that day, it's like we get done with sound check and all that shit. You go grab dinner, try and catch a quick nap, whatever. And then I'd be up on stage before doors open, like going through all my stuff, making sure the batteries are charged, you know, cleaning up my work area, just, you know, getting guitar picks ready to put on like the mic stand, all that bullshit, right? Just prep work, you know. And I check my phone and all the news starts coming in about the Bataclan shooting, the Eagles death metal show that was attacked.
Yeah.
And it was like a very surreal experience. The band that we were on tour with had just done a tour with those guys. So they were like, all the techs were just kind of gathered around, like watching this shit go down, like in real time. Like, what the fuck is happening right now? And it was just like a very surreal day because it's like all day, it's like this positive full circle thing. And then at the end of the day, like doors are ready to open for the gig. And there's a hostage situation at a rock and roll show at a club in Paris that we had played like on the last tour.
Yeah.
Right. So synchronicity, weirdness, you know, and other weird shit like that would happen. We were in Stockholm getting ready. We had a day off. We had to catch a ferry, right, to go to Finland or different parts of Sweden. I don't know where the fuck we were going. It was an overnight one. It was like a party ferry. There's like a casino and a disco and all that shit on it. We're walking around Stockholm all day having fun. We find a Boston themed sports bar. It was like fucking O'Leary's or something, right? And we go in there and it was Patriots Day. So we're like, yeah, we're watching a fucking Sox game, and we're all like drinking Guinness and drinking fucking Jameson and going bananas, taking pictures with like Larry Bird cut out, like Miller Lite fucking advertisements and shit. Going bananas. Go meet the bus, get on the ferry. We're like in the middle of this ferry thing. Everybody's Wi-Fi kicks back on, and we get news of the marathon bombing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are the odds? We were in like a Boston sports bar watching, you know, the baseball game. And they're talking about the marathon, but you know, it was the weird synchronicity stuff.
Sure.
The more I think about it, adds up a lot too to this paranormal type thing. And now what I was getting at with talking about the Warrens was at the end of this event we went to, like you could take photos with Lorraine and she signed a book for you and all this. And then you're just hanging out and people are peeling off. The Halloween people were just like, okay, we're gone. We got what we wanted. And you could tell the people hanging around more. We're talking with other people across the table about stories of our own experience in this. And I noticed that there's like an open share by Lorraine and Tony. So I go over there and I was like, do you guys mind if I share some stuff? I got some questions and some experiences. And I start telling them about it. And what I experienced with that apparition in the hat and everything, they're like, yeah, none of this sounds evil. Like, you sound like you're very open to this stuff. And like, you could probably like, if you put work into it, you could train it and this and that. Just know nothing that you've told us sounds like demonic or evil or anything like that. But you're going to be experiencing this for the rest of your life. You know, it's never going to stop. Like you're going to see things or feel things or be in weird situations and you just got to accept it and not be scared. Right. So that was like kind of like calming in a way. Cause it was like, I'd been following their work since I was a kid and it was like, okay, like maybe I'm not out of my mind. Who fucking knows? I mean, I'm out of my mind. I mean, you race BMX and downhill, like you're fucking whacking your head.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Going to hardcore shows, be at the bottom of a pig pile when there used to be pig piles at shows.
Yeah, you're stage diving off the speakers of the PA. You're fucked.
And you're getting smashed in the back of the head, whatever.
Yeah. So after that, I kind of had a different outlook on this stuff. It was just like more accepting. And I like in ways things started coming more to me. So Joe was mentioning the Stockberry Dark podcast that Pete and Klaus did. And he sent it to me one morning and he's like, oh, this kid's talking about the Bridgewater Triangle. He knows I'm a UFO guy. So he's like, there's this cool UFO story in there. So I lived up on this like old 1800s farmhouse, like up on a mountain in this rural town, Southwick. And we were kind of caretakers of it for my accountant. And there was like an unfinished like Riverstone like patio in the back. So I'd get up and I'd, have my coffee and rip a joint and like play stones for like, get the blood flowing, get a little workout in, right? And I'm listening to this podcast and Cam starts talking about this UFO experience where he essentially saw like a city in the sky. I remembered my experience at that point. I hadn't thought about it in years. I'd been dating a girl and we got talking about this stuff and she's like, oh, you ever see a UFO? And I was like, no, just ghost shit, And this dude described it, and all the UFO shit I had ever looked into and studied and followed, which was just as much as the ghost shit, I'd never heard about this like structures in the sky type thing in what I looked into. So I hear this guy shit. I call an ex-girlfriend I was dating when I had my experience. And I was like, you remember my UFO thing? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, listen to this podcast at this timestamp and tell me what you think. And she's like, oh my God, yeah, that's it. Guys I hung out with that night, roommates, I sent the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
And that was like, holy shit. Like, you get chatting about this stuff and stuff comes back.
Sure, yeah.
And that was weird. I was like, we were at band practice one night. All that fall where I was living, I looked over Mount Tom in East Hampton, Western Mass, folks know what I'm saying. And in the sky, there was just always fireballs. Almost every night, shooting stars, fireballs. It got to the point I would report them to some reporting thing because I thought it was fun to track. Like, oh, they saw this one in like Richmond or like North Carolina, right? So we're talking about that after practice one night, and this dude lived on the other side of the mountain from me, and he had like 2 or 3 acres of field behind his house. And it was just nice darkness. You could see the Milky Way and stuff. And we're looking up and we get talking about the space station and seeing that flying by. See a few shooting stars. I'm driving home over the mountain and I'm just thinking about that. So I'm looking up and I see this like orange glow. So I get down the mountain and I'm following it. And there's an Air Force base in Chicopee, Westover Air Force Base, which back in like the 60s or late 50s, there's like photos you can look up on the internet of like flying saucers over this place. They've had a lot of UFO shit over the years. So I'm thinking like, oh, that's probably one of the big like cargo planes flying in there. Then I'm like, wait a minute, it doesn't seem to be going in that direction. So I'm driving and I see bits and pieces and I come to an intersection where you can get on 91 North. And then there's like a shopping plaza and all this. And in the sky over the shopping plaza, it looked like the background from a video game or something. Like it looked like a city being frontlit and backlit in the sky with these like little things coming in like mothership style. There's like little... It was so massive, the things flying up to it looked like small dots that you could see in the glow of it.
Yeah.
And then I started reading up on that shit. And I was like, wow, this is like a weird phenomena. But I hadn't thought of that since it happened. I told everybody about it when it happened, forgot about it. And then years later.
That? Yeah, when was that?
I believe it was like 2015 or so. And I think it was like springtime maybe.
Yeah.
Because the trees weren't lush.
Sure, yeah.
Which I'm wondering if that's around the same time period that Cam saw his shit.
I think Cam's was like a couple years before me, actually. But I think it was like a similar time of the year, if memory serves me correct. So then it's like, okay, that's weird, right? Like, weird things keep happening, and now they're happening in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I'm a believer in all that shit. But, like we were poking around the triangle last night, it's like, what is out there? What are these spirits? I started talking to my parents and stuff because we had family ghost stories. And, it turns out like my great grandfather from Italy would do like, he would lift the evil eye off people. Like someone would think they had the evil eye put on. They go to him and he put like oil in a pot with water and like forks or something on top of the pot. and then it would start spinning around and all the oil would congeal together. Then it would blow up into particulates, and that's when the evil eye was lifted, right? So he was fucking with this like weird Italian folk witchcraft. Then we find out my grandfather's mother was some type of like healer, and it sounds like Reiki or something like that she would do. People in the neighborhood would come to see her because they didn't feel good, and she'd like put her hands over them and they would start feeling better. So there's somebody was playing around with something. Like like one of my aunts told me, she's like, "Oh yeah, your mom was in like an occult book club growing up in this." And I talked to my mom. I was like, "Tell me you weren't fucking saying spells out of these books or fucking around hard." She said, no. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, who knows? Like, what did you do? Am I like some devil baby or something?
Yeah. Fucking Anton LaVey's grandson or some shit. Yeah.
Dude, I'm surprised I didn't have a tail when I came out.
Fuck yeah, man. This is a fucking weird, fucking wacky world out there, man. It's like, and no matter what it is, dude, like, you know, and I'm not discounting or anything, like whether it's just like something in your head or something like in reality, whatever it is, there's just like, it's cool that there's weird, wacky, like unexplained shit out there. And it's even cooler that there's so many people now more than ever, I feel like, investigating it and trying, you know, not all of them, but a lot of people are trying to investigate it in scientific ways.
Yeah.
And to kind of more try and uncover what the phenomena is, you know?
Well, and that's what I really liked about like the Pittman interview, where he's coming from a place of like science and looking at it in these like in-depth ways. And there's so many guys that you see on TV, like doing these shows or like different things. And it's just like, well, that's that. And I went to the moon and that's what I got to tell you. And that's it. Whereas like the people that are really looking into this stuff, and like, what was it, 2-3 months ago, the government comes out, they're like, yeah, we have crafts from another world. Like the Pentagon admits that this shit is going on.
There was two phases. There was like the first thing where they were like, yeah, there's we have footage of things that are unidentified.
Right, the Tic Tac video.
Yeah, and then 3 months later, there's like, it wasn't, if you really look at it, it was a contractor that worked for the government.
Exactly.
But it's still like someone that was a high up contractor said, yeah, there's things that, there's technology that we're in possession of that are not of this world.
Well, a lot of people
But what does that mean? That does, you know, and that's the whole thing, right? It's like, is it alien from other planets? Is it interdimensional shit?
Time travel.
Time travel shit? There's like a whole world of possibilities out there.
The Barron Trump time travel conspiracy. Get into it. It's fucking crazy. It's so funny.
Do you know it's another crazy, like, but funny, but kind of bizarre conspiracy? Not conspiracy, but like a
JFK Jr. being alive still.
Yeah, no, not even that one. Not even that one. Like the fucking crazy thing, like the Simpsons, like being ahead of the curve and like time travel Simpson shit. Like
he's a seer.
Like all the shit like that they predict, and then they show the picture from it from like the 80s or 90s or whatever, and then in like 2010, like the picture of like whatever they predicted like happening, like actually happening and shit.
But you know, I'm sure like if you look hard enough at anything, you can draw straws.
Yeah, actually, 100%.
But it's like that episode of South Park where it's like Simpsons did it, and there's like a shitty like Air Bart like chasing Cartman the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like that's 2020. Simpsons did it.
Yeah. You know, and I haven't watched that in so long, but South Park always was so ahead of like so on point with their fucking stabs and like on point, but like they must make a fucking episode like every 2 days or something because it's like timely. Like some shit happens on Monday and on Friday it's like fucking out.
There was some sort of story about how those guys like actually work, where it's like they just like the first like 3 days.
Just come closer. Like
oh yeah. Like there's some story about how like those dudes actually like work, and it's like the first like 3-4 days like they're just like waiting for something to happen during the week.
Yeah, and then they write about it that week.
They're like, okay, like something happened. We have like a half an afternoon to write a plot, and then it's just like meanwhile like all like the cartoonists and everything like that, they're just like sitting around like smoking cigarettes, and they're like, all right, these guys are pacing up and down the hallways just waiting for ideas, and then like we got an idea, and it's like let's go, like it's just like going to like they
it's
just
like 0 to 100.
they develop like an episode like and like cartoon it within like 2 days.
But you know how it is. It's like at first, like once you kind of have I don't know what the word is, like the gestalt of it. Like, you know what the characters are and how they're going to react to stuff. Like, all you need is that plot line, and I'm sure the lines and like what they're all saying kind of fill themselves in. But I don't know. This is conjecture at this point. It's, it's like we just went from UFOs and spirit and gin spirits to fucking South Park. So
Well, you know, it's funny to circle back around. This brings the UFO and ghost shit back to the shop. So we're called Black Hole Guitars. The logo is like a UFO flying through the letters and shit. Like, you go in the shop and there's like alien shit everywhere, right? So one of my clients was like a paranormal investigator. They had like a YouTube show or something. They left like business cards. And when I did the Stockberry Dark, I did a lot of research on my neighborhood. Like, anybody that like wants to hear more about like my paranormal stuff, check out the interview I did with Pete and Klaus. Like, it's pretty in depth with this.
Do you know
stuff.
what episode that was? Stockberry Doc is a podcast that deals with like paranormal stuff, but like kind of within the confines of the punk hardcore metal scene. Like,
it's like
people
subculture,
people we know that have had weird experiences or whatever,
right?
Like that type of stuff.
So that gets really down with it. So I don't know so people know I'm into this shit. So it got to the point. So when I was like getting ready for that show, I made all these notes and like, you know, like I interviewed people from my family about family ghost stories and people that I knew that had ghost stories from town. I talked to those people. So I just had a better, like, I knew where I was going with what I was saying, right? Like, you guys can tell I'm a fucking train off the tracks 90% of the time of this interview.
Yeah.
So they in doing...
No one gets into punk and hardcore and metal and stuff because they're 100% fucking on the right path of normalcy, you know?
You're shot to a degree.
Yeah.
So I like, through all this research, I decided, I'm like, man, I want to write a book about like haunted Westfield one day, right? So kids come into the shop and they start talking about creepy stuff. And it's like, well, you're from Westfield. Did you grow up in a haunted house? And kids start telling me shit. And then it gets to the point, like, I'll never forget this. One day, this dude comes in, normal looking dude. There's a girl out front on a phone that looked like she was with him. And he's just kind of looking around. He's like, what's this? What's this? And I was like, oh, are you looking for a gift for somebody? Like, do you play? Like, what's going on? He's like, no, I don't know anything about it. Oh, my friend's going to come in. And I was like, okay. And the girl comes in. She's like, oh, this shop's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And then she like looks at the door where I have all the business cards and flyers. And she's like, oh, paranormal investigations. What's this? And I was like, oh, you're into that stuff? And she's like, yeah.
Your episode is episode 12.
Episode 12 of the Stockberry Dark. Get in there. Check them all out. There's some killer stuff on that show.
Joe's my new producer. He's young Joe.
Yeah, young Joey.
Young Joey.
We just need those Mike Tyson joints right now.
Pretty much, but so yeah, so
wait, so DMT, right?
No, yeah. But so she sees the card and is like, yeah, paranormal.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, are you into that? She's like, oh yeah, we love those shows like Ghost Hunters and this and that. I'm like, oh, cool. And I was like, so do you have anything? You know, have you seen anything? She's like, oh yeah. And she starts pulling up videos on her phone. She had like security camera footage of like wild shit, like things getting thrown around. She's telling me about her experience in her house. And she showed me this one video, and it's her laying in bed with like her husband or boyfriend or whoever it was. And it's from the foot of the bed on like a dresser. So you can tell there's a gap between the dresser and the foot of the bed. And she's like she's on the left side of the bed if you're looking at it, right? Right side if you're laying down. So her right arm is like tucked up behind her head. And what I'm doing right now is my hand is like basically touching my left shoulder, and I got like a pointed elbow over my head.
Yeah.
It's a very weird position, right?
No, it's a weird position. It's like if you were scratching your shoulder.
Scratching your shoulder type arm position. And they're snoozed out, and there's like a nightstand next to her covered in like water bottles and all kinds of like assorted stuff. And at one point, her arm like just clears the table. But it looked like the arm was pulled. And I was like, what the fuck? And she played it a bunch of times. So I go home that night and I lay in bed and I put my arm the way she had it. And I'm trying to like think like if you're sleeping and you go limp, how does your arm come out of that position and make that motion that it's clearing a nightstand? And it was like violent. It looked like somebody took the hand and just mopped the floor with it. So that was like very strange. So more people start coming in and telling me all these ghost stories about their experiences and this shit. So it's like guitar shop, fucking occult book club of the month, or at the very least, like, this dude's a fucking weirdo. Let's go fuck with him.
Yeah.
You know? it's a strange thing, you know, but you know, I've had this idea to like write about town and stuff because I just know so many ghost stories about town. And the more I talk to people about it, it's like, Jesus, like everybody here has this shit. It's a revolution. It was Westfield. Westfield was like the westernmost settlement of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Like we're very old, right? So we were out there, like Washington stayed in town and marched through town, you know, like General Knox was like, you know, the whole Shays Rebellion thing and all that. But beyond that, it's just an old place.
Yeah.
So like,
that's
what
the
happened
cool thing
before
about
the
a lot of
Revolution?
Massachusetts. Yeah. Like here, Freetown's
Exactly.
was a town in the 1600s, you know, well before 1776, you know what I mean? So
I believe Westfield was 1669 incorporated.
yeah. That's the cool thing about old New England towns is there's a lot of history. So no matter what, there's a lot of history and there's a lot of time for like weird shit to stack up.
Yep, and those like stains on places, you know,
Yeah.
like that's why there's like this story of like the roadside ghosts that's so happening here, you know, like these like somebody died at the, you know, you might, if you drive by on August 12th at 12 p.m. on this road, you'll see a girl walking, right? There's so many of those stories, like it's that residue that remains after you pass, like to some degree. Like I've seen too much and experienced too much to not believe that there's another world beyond this, whether it's reincarnation or some type of purgatory or some type of spirit world or something, or it's just another dimension fucking with us that we can't see. Like,
like when I was in the ceiling fucking with kids in other shops, like I was coming from another dimension basically, dude. No, I'm just kidding. But
it's funny that like you're talking about just like how old Massachusetts is, and it's just like you really think about the grand scheme of like human, you know, like it's like
we're a baby.
Actually,
yeah.
so
Well, I mean, in the
this
history
is
of the
really
United
young, and then when you
States of
think about,
America,
like,
yeah.
overseas ghost
Yeah,
stories, like
yeah,
Europe
yeah.
stories, and you go, oh no, like they got way more of an imprint of spooky bad shit
Yeah,
that's
sure,
happened over the years, you know. But it's like,
yeah, these fucking, no one here has a castle from the 1300s. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's going to be a little different spin. But yeah, man. So, how can fucking people, I know with the COVID closings and everything, but how can people find you on social media and any of that? You know, give some plugs out for the Black Hole and whatever else you got kind of going on, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This has been
course,
awesome. And I got to say, dude, the episode with Esoteric, that was fucking sick. Like, it's funny, man. I'm like bumping Czarface in the shop more than I'm like blasting rock and roll. So that was like a trip to like listen to that interview, man.
And I mean, it's crazy too, because that was hard because he's like a good friend and we just hadn't seen each other in a while. So we got fucking really shit hammered before it even started. And like, I fell backwards, like hit my head on this fucking table and all that shit. Like fucking, you know what I mean? Like fucking, just fucking dumb shit. You know what I mean? Like fucking, I got to do another one with him. We're a little more, a little more contained, you know, like at least me, you know what I mean?
Well, that wild one was fun, man.
yeah. I you know, and it's weird too, because like I don't go back and listen to these really, like, because it's hard for me to do that, you know, like when I'm putting it all together and uploading it, I listen to like different points through the interview to make sure all the sounds right and there's nothing like weird or fucked up. But I don't go back and listen to them, so I don't even know what we even talked about. But I can there's conjecture of what I'm sure what we talked about, but I kind of want to go back to that one because I know it was like a high degree of idiocy in that one, you know.
Well, and on top of that, though, just like the parallels between punk rock and hip hop that you guys are drawing, and it's so funny. I meet people now, and they're like, "Dude, you're into all this like '90s hip hop shit," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "I never would have guessed it." Like looking at you, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, BMX and skateboarding. You know what I mean? Like the skater friends were like, dude, you got to listen to Souls of Mischief. Check out this Mobb Deep album.
That was all on the old skate videos after hardcore. Like it all came.
Exactly. But yeah, anyways, if you want to check out the shop, best way to find us is at Black Hole Guitars on Instagram. We haven't been doing shit on there, posting or anything because there's no news.
But
you know.
it's coming soon.
It's coming.
At the end of COVID.
We're getting there. I'm trying to work some things out now for getting back to it for appointment only, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying 2 weeks for months, but we're on it. I'm getting like sick of not working. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, just
probably sick of paying rent without having income coming in from it as well.
Man, paying rent sucks as it is, you know?
Yeah. Never mind when there's nothing. I had to pay the rent at the tattoo shop for about 4 months, almost with nothing coming in. And it's like, the bills don't stop, even though the world stops. And that's what people don't realize about how small businesses are affected. They're like, oh, well, you know, blah, 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 you know. But it's like, no, like, the like, whether you have a mortgage or you pay a lease or a rent, that still has to get paid. Even if you're not using any electric, just to be connected to electric,
Yep.
you're paying at least $60-$70 a month, whether you're using electric or not.
Yeah, and you're in under that Comcast contract for your Wi-Fi and that shit, so you're still paying that.
Yeah, all these bills don't stop. It's just, money stops coming in. So it's like, get out there and support your small businesses as much as you can, whoever's open and especially like restaurants and bars or whatever, or whatever is quote unquote non-essential.
Independent, local, whatever you can do.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you're a small business, support the other small local independent business. Like we don't have a CNC machine, but when I have to get stuff CNC'd, I use a guy that's like 10 minutes down the road.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't send it out. I'm sure I could send it out to a place that just bulk CNC shit, machine shop all fucking day, and I could get it for like way cheaper, but I'd rather keep that guy fucking getting food on his plate and vice versa.
Well, and that's where it's at, right? Responsible capitalism. That's your community, your local politics are the only politics your voice matters in, right?
Absolutely.
Your local bit, man, there's nothing happening in town. Well, when that one weird little place opens up, even if it's not necessarily what you exactly want, go fucking support them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, there's a new coffee shop in town. You're not hot on coffee, dude. Go get a donut or something for those guys.
And people get weirded out by that term, right? Because you talk about capitalism, and it's a weird thing now because capitalism has such a weird evil slant on it. And it's like, this country prospered when there was so much more kind of, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, responsible capitalism, which means, support your local businesses. If you're a local business, whatever. And we all kind of know what that means.
Well, I think but
that goes hand in hand with freedom, because freedom has a certain amount of personal responsibility and accountability tied in with it. And so, that is the price of having freedom. And what they're doing now is taking all that fucking away. So people don't feel accountable to anything. I have a guy, the original drummer for War Machine, does real estate, and he does a lot of commercial real estate. And he's talking to people. He goes, a lot of my people that I sold properties to are talking about no one's paying them rent because they're like, I don't have to pay rent and you can't kick me out. That is not personal, responsibility. You have a responsibility. I paid my rent at my tattoo shop, or we paid our rent, me and Ryan, even though we weren't making any money, because that is a debt that's an agreement I had, you know what I mean? Or whatever, I don't know where I'm even going with all this, but
how dare you guys speak about responsible capitalism in
Yeah,
this day and age?
I mean, it should just be crushing.
Fascists.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to think that those are the systems that are tried and true. Like, if you want to have freedom, there's a certain amount of responsibility and accountability that comes with it. Like, you can't be a shitbag.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you do the right thing and fucking make sure people do the right by you, do right by yourself, do right by others. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple. Things, just don't be a shitbag, and everything kind of works.
Yeah,
right. Once people stop being shitbags, that's when shit starts to fall apart, or or whatever. Don't be consumed by greed. Dude,
that punk rock venue that you hated because they charged $5 for beers. There's not shows now, and you're trying to throw GoFundMes for those guys after talking shit about them for years being fucking swindlers. It's like, I think a lot of people are getting that bigger picture and appreciating things more and understanding a bit. Hopefully,
I
like to think, right?
I've been very disheartened by this whole thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's not disheartened by what's going on, but by how far people just fall in line with the pushed narrative.
Well, and some of it is too, in a way, I try to look at it on the positive. It's trimming the fat. Like, people that aren't really about that grind and committing their life to what they're doing, that are just trying to make a quick buck. Like, they're already looking at programming or fucking IT gigs at this point.
I
or like even
that.
bands that aren't coming from a pure place of art and expression and stuff, that are just trying to get popular and get a bump.
Yeah.
That's going to be gone by the time things go open.
No.
So it's like a reset for almost like the subculture
for cool
in a lot
shit,
of ways.
Yeah. No. And I 100% agree with that. I just meant I am fucking disheartened by the amount of sheer number of people that just fall in line like fucking good sheep. And in the scenes that, we grew up in, that teach you to not do that.
Smash the system by supporting the system. Yeah, all right, buddy.
Yeah. And if there's any takeaway from anything, man, just fucking look at what's going on with a critical eye, step back, take your emotion out of it, and just look at things like, very from like a very unemotional, like just here's what's going on.
Yeah.
None of this fucking makes sense.
I'm with you.
None of it makes sense. Like, like have you, shout, wear a mask all you want. And it's cool. Like I have no problem with people as an adult deciding whether they want to wear a mask or not. Like if someone comes in here and wears a mask, I do not make fun of them. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, dude, maybe you got a sick aunt that's like 90 years old that lives with you. Fucking cool, dude. None of my business. Like, but look at things from like a fucking, unemotional, just logistical fucking thing. There's a lot of weird shit going on right now that we need to address, and we can't let people get away with anymore. Like, and when I say people, I mean I'm talking about
like politicians,
federal level politicians. Like, you have the most change. You can affect the most change at the local level, absolutely, yes. And that's what you should be just as passionate about that.
Run for office in your town if you own property.
Absolutely.
Like put up or shut up.
Absolutely, and the reason why I never do is because Chop Ahead Volume 1 through 4 shows me being full retard. I
read so much Hunter Thompson growing up that I was like, dude, I'm gonna be a city councilman one day, and I was like, dude, fuck this machine. Richard Pryor said it, man.
I would love to, but instead I'm gonna throw my hat, weight, and money behind people that I feel like feel the same way,
and that's it, and that's how we all grow.
I'm not a good candidate, you know what I mean?
No, but what you're doing is like you're contributing to the community by offering a service that's high level that people want. Yeah. Like you probably got guys that come in.
But I go to town meetings. Yeah, not every single one, but I go as much as I can.
Yes, sir.
And I weigh in when I can and vote when I can, and your vote weighs way more heavily locally than it does federally. Like federally, all these. This is a very simplistic view, but I deeply feel, until someone shows me otherwise, that the Democratic and Republican Party, it's like watching the WWF or WWE.
World, man.
At the end of the world, those dudes are all hanging out, suppering together at whatever club, the exclusive club they go to in DC, and they're laughing their ass off.
Yep.
Like they all dance to the same corporate fucking banking and military industrial complex masters. Like that's why there's no difference.
Ben and Jerry's isn't keeping the lights on in Vermont, dude. It's Raytheon and Lockheed Martin.
Absolutely. And until you start looking at bigger picture stuff, man, like all that stuff is just like wicked easy divide and conquer and keep everyone infighting rather than looking at bigger pictures. And it's something people got to do. It's like step back, take a deep breath, get unemotional, and just really look at things logistically, and you see like shit is just completely fucked and crazy.
What can you do in your community that's going to help things? Anybody can go and bitch online. Yeah. Like anybody can go and anybody that knows me, that I fucking have a good time on the internet, anybody can say stupid shit, but like, what are you actually doing in real life? That are you like the morals that you put forth to other people? Is it a virtue signal, or are you actually living what you're saying?
Yeah.
And beyond that, are you standing up for who you are, what you believe, and where you're at with it, and whatever that is, are you really about it?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the positives through lockdown. I think whether I agree or disagree with some people, like I think a lot of people have really come to know who they are and know where they stand on things, and I think at the same time, a lot of people have fallen into that pack.
Yeah.
And it's just
the $600 a week.
You're QAnon or you're,
you get that $600 a week to keep your mouth shut and fucking go with the narrative, like that's it's good to know that you can buy the American public for $600.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're cheap.
It's not that expensive, man. Yeah. And it's crazy, dude. Like, there's so much more I'd love to get into. But just like,
we could do a podcast on this alone, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and that'll be for the next time. And then, when I gotta actually get a third mic. I always wanted to do one-on-one, but I see
oh yeah, Joe's been great.
Having two people wouldn't be bad. It's just I feel like
I should have brought an extra mic with me. I should have thought of it.
I know I have friends and I got other people that do podcasts, and there'll be like 7 people in the room, and that just gets too crazy. Like one-on-one or two. I think it's good to do a one-on-one. Yeah. But now we could do both of you guys because you've done one and you've done one, and then now we could do all three. Like you've told your story and you've told your story.
We could talk about mushrooms in church on Christmas Eve on that one.
Absolutely.
You gotta have people that are smart enough not to talk over each other. That's when things get too busy and too chaotic in podcasts.
And I think when it's done in person, you can do that way better than like the phone too. Like that's why I don't do those. I try not to do like I do. Obviously, in this day and age where travel is so restricted and crazy, even if it's not restricted, it's so crazy to try and travel. It's hard to go. Like, if I was doing my regular thing where I'd be going to different bike shows and stuff, I'd have a lot more in-person interviews with other people. Like, you know, like I just did Chopper Dave like a week or two ago from California. I probably would have done that in person, or Big Nick, you know, but you know, the phone has to suffice for now. But 2, 3 or more people, you have to do that in person. If you do try and do that shit over the phone, it's just fucking a madhouse. Even trying to do one-on-one over the phone sometimes, like, cause I'm not doing Zoom or any of that, so I don't see the person. So sometimes it's hard and we talk on each other a little bit, but as long as you back off and don't stomp it out, you know what I mean? It works out right.
The headphones definitely help.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah. When I pump someone through the phone, it sounds just like this,
right?
Like, cause this whole setup is like really good with that shit. As long as they have a good connection on their end, it works out. But yeah, I mean, now we're totally digressing. So we'll do another one. We'll get the like the thing I was talking about with stress when we're gonna do the psychedelic and UFO fucking shit. Like we're in a room, like fucking absolutely. We'll get that going.
Higher power,
dude. The most high, whatever. What was the other one? There was another one we had too. Fuck.
Trip report.
The trip report.
But I mean, of course,
we can do that.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, of course, that whole episode is just going to be completely fictitious. Like it's like we're just pretending about whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just more. Look at Joe already. Already
young Joey producing.
Young Joey producing. If I can get some sponsors to really kick in some money, so I can give Joe a paying job on the thing. So
where's Tushy.com to get everybody that clean ass, man?
I know. I need Tushy. What are the? There's so many like podcast specific marketing. There's always a CBD oil company. Yeah. There's always Tushy. There's always an underwear company.
There's some sort of like boxed.
It's like dick shit.
A boxed meal. A grass fed beef delivery to service.
A Patreon thing.
Yeah. And so I mean, feel free to reach out. I'm open for business as long as I agree with your company and the principles behind it.
I like that Theo Vaughn thing where he's like, get that hitter, and it's just some pizza shop down the street from where he lives, and he advertises for him nationally. Yeah, get that hitter, Theo.
Hey, dude, you know, I got a couple pizza places around here. I'll fucking promote.
Get in there, right?
Yeah, come down to
support the local boys.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, it was good fucking talking to you, man. And we'll wrap this up. So the Black Hole, do you have a personal Instagram or Facebook or a website or anything you want to plug, or any band stuff going on right now?
Yeah, I pulled all the plugs on my personal shit to focus on other stuff. I'm in a band called Low Form now that's like fucked up, like Afghan Wigs, Oasis, shit through a punk rock filter. So mostly I'm on that. It's Low Form on Instagram. We got an EP up. Just want to thank you guys again. Want to thank my guys at the gym, Van Horn Park Fight Club, for getting me ready for this boxing match in a few months when it comes back.
So you didn't even bring that up. So you bring up new topics 3 hours and 3 minutes into this fucking thing. Like,
my man, Coach Dan, my dude, Chris, like these guys are fucking getting us ready. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but we're going for it.
Absolutely. You know, I gotta show you my boy Ty's gym. Like, I know you got to play
his podcast was awesome, his interview.
But you got to look at his gym, dude. Like, he's got a ring, he's got everything right the fuck in there.
Let's do it.
So we'll wrap this up here. Again, thank you for coming out today. Check us out, www.bigtruthpodcast.com. Give any parting shouts or websites or anything.
Just parting shot. Rest in power to Mark Sheehan. That was my brother. That was my man. Out Cold fans, like
Massachusetts.
When you guys like message me or tell me that like you dig Out Cold records, like Mark's with us, and that's fucking important.
You never die when you put some music or art or whatever out there. Like, you live on through that forever. Yeah.
And I just want to leave with this: fuck communism, fuck the CCP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better dead than red.
Check where you live. Check where you live.
All right. Thanks, y'all.